Welcome back to Chats with Jack. I am Jack Talcott. Wow. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Chats with Jack. Sincerely, I am Jack Talcott, and it's not just Talcott time today. It is our time. You know, I shared a video recently, boys don't cry, but men do, and holy cows, my emotions are just flowing right now. That's the first time I saw that opening. And the creativity, the talent that's been offered, the encouragement, the inspiration that's been so freely and generously shared with me. I hope you appreciate it too. I asked for a longer opening, and I saw the numbers climbing. There's a purpose. A longer opening allows folks to get the notification and to know what's going on. And you know, here, real quickly, we'll touch on this briefly. Rising above, that's in line with the topic today. We got a special guest. I got some good things coming for today and in the near future. I am so excited. So today, with the thumbnail, the higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Brothers and sisters, we are rising, we are soaring, we will be rising together, and we will let everyone know we are here to fly, and we will become those examples. And with this, what I hope to share, what I hope that we know, remind us all, we can rise above the chaos, we can rise above the negativity, we can rise above the limitations from the past. Each day, each moment brings up opportunities for us for new beginnings. And so with that, with the new beginnings, I had the pleasure earlier today, the sincere honor of meeting a stranger, man named Richard from New Zealand. I don't know an awful lot about him, but I know he's been on the same purpose I am, for a better world, money-free future. Whoops. Are you there, Richard?
Oh, yeah, we're here, Jack. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, you sound beautiful. Welcome, brother.
Good. We've got Gusty's with us today. I hope that's okay. He didn't get a specific invitation, but he's pretty cool. Yeah.
Beautiful. Who is that? Rusty?
Gusty, as in the
Gusty.
wind. Gusty the dog. Yeah, he's not sure about being on TV, but he'll get the hang of it. Yeah, he likes to perform.
Beautiful, beautiful. Hey, I didn't really recognize the chat. Normally what I do is I do a little bit longer of a monologue, and I typically invite everyone who's available to join. Anyone who wants to join does. So today is a little bit different. I don't want to ignore the chat, but honestly, I'm going to be paying mostly attention to Richard today. And then we'll go from there. But actually, if you have questions, you know, please jot them down or make a note, and we'll make an opportunity to open it up later. But today, this adventure, I'd like to continue our introductions, if you're all right with that, Richard. And let us know a little bit about you and what you have been doing. Let's just start there, if that's all right.
All right, Jack. Thanks very much for having us on the show. Yeah, we're in Nelson, New Zealand. It's middle of the daytime here, and we live in a farm up in the mountains. Basically, I mean, the reason we've been introduced, Jack, I think, by our mutual friend Nick Tapping from the Money Free Party UK is I think we share a vision of the future. And it's fascinating to meet people like yourself who've been working so tirelessly for so long in a slightly different direction, but at the end of the day, we're all kind of going the same way. And it's always difficult to sum this up. So, don't let me rant on, but basically I've been promoting an economy without money, everything entirely free and everything entirely voluntary. And it's really essential to keep those two key components together. In the future that we envision at Money Free Party New Zealand, everything will be free and everything will be voluntary. And I mean, if we're going to get cut off in 30 seconds, that will solve every single problem that we know about. And I would, if we had to go now, I would stop there. The reason I'm so sure of this, I've been promoting this on the political stage. So that's for general elections for Parliament, and on the local electoral stage. So that's for mayoral and councillor positions in towns and regions around New Zealand since 2013. I first ran for mayor of Nelson in 2013, and we didn't get that many votes, but we got a lot of exposure and we learned a lot. And now here we are over 10 years later, and it's really struck me as not just bizarre, but encouraging that essentially our message is the same as it was 10 years ago. And that consistency, I think, is itself consistent with the truth. The truth has a habit of staying the same. And when I compare my rhetoric and my promotional material and my discussions and my arguments with those of my competitors for these political seats, they are changing. I mean, sometimes mid-campaign, they are changing policies, changing their positions, and we haven't changed at all. And this came to me about 5 years ago when somebody said, "Oh, you always say the same things, Richard." And that's the nature of the truth, isn't it? You know? And that's given me massive confidence. And just as an aside, because I think this is important, I teach aircraft engineering. I started in that industry 43 years ago as an apprentice at London Airport. And I kept everything, all my notes, all my training material. And I'm teaching the same stuff today, 43 years later, exactly the same stuff. And that's the nature of scientific fact. It doesn't change. And I just love that. It gives me so much confidence in the material. And when I see all the other politicians or aspiring candidates changing their mind about immigration or taxes or the treatment of criminals or drug or gender acceptance, nah, they're making it up, aren't they? They're just rolling dice every time. And it's lovely to be able to say that in public in front of these candidates with the greatest respect to my compatriots on the stage who are running for these positions. They gave up. They just didn't keep trying to find better solutions. And they accept poverty and crime and dysfunction and violence and obesity and environmental degradation. They just accept it as inevitable. And we didn't. We didn't accept it, and we kept looking. And that's the nature of discovery, isn't it? If you stop looking, you will never find it. It's so freaking obvious. And if you keep looking, you will find a way. And that's so exciting. I mean, I'm already excited, Jack. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, let's do this, brother. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And thank you for the work you've been doing, man. And what the thoughts that came up from what you were saying for me, obviously there's a lot of pushback, right? There's a lot of resistance to this idea of a money-free future. And what you were stressing about free and voluntary. I know the free part, it's hard to get across people that it can be voluntarily contributed. And we'll come back to that, but I also want to acknowledge and point out for anyone viewing what this man has been doing, from what I learned of, is using the political process for education, right? This is such a beautiful tool that all of us have available. We can all become or influence or get involved with and start because the political system, it does at least provide forums for topics to be discussed. And it really is. It is time for something different. So thank you. Thank you for staying to the principles. And you're right. Unfortunately, many of these people in the systems, in the parties, they're doing their best, but they've conformed. They've allowed themselves excuses, and they've believed that, well, this is the best I can do. Well, that's because we've been divided. When we realize we're not divided, we're united, we really are. There's no escaping that truth. We are united together in this life right now. And the world is ready for change. I see that. We're going to be a big part of this. And I'm telling you, I heard, I didn't hear details, but you and your family have made sacrifices and faced some challenges and changes, I'm sure, related to your dedication and conviction. So thank you. Again, I can relate. And that's why I was real excited to meet you. Oh, here. This isn't your necessarily what you are with or doing, but perhaps it is. The Money Free Party USA. I haven't gone into this deeply.
No.
But I was checking it out a little bit. It's just, it makes sense. These things make sense. And for those who are viewing, I did drop the link in the chat previously, and I will I'll put it in the video description later as well. For those who are interested, I encourage you to investigate these ideas. Allow the seeds of thought that others are presenting, allow those seeds of thought to be considered, and allow those ideas to grow from you. Because a better world, in Richard and my earlier introduction, we were on the same page. Utopia, it's here. It's like right here, waiting. It's waiting for us to stop making it not. Right?
Yeah, no, that's not my website, Jack. That is a compatriot, Steve, and he's fantastic. He unfortunately died. We are moneyfreeparty.org.nz. And it's funny, I tend not, just thinking out loud, I tend not to provide links for people because it's such a personal journey. I feel that we've all got our own individual kind of bespoke brainwash, and we've got to find our own way out of it. And some people want to go a more kind of hippie route. Some people more a high-tech route. Some people more the Venus Project, from Florida, or the Zeitgeist movement, or Money Free New Zealand. Actually, we all want to end up in the same utopia, but we've got to get out of our brainwash to get there. And so I tend to say to people, look, if you don't know, what do I do? What do I do? Where do I go? Give me a link. I just say, just put Money Free into your computer and follow your nose. And you may not come my route. Perry Gruber with Copiosis is amazing in the US. We argue like cat and dog, but he's on the right track, But it's just a different path to my own. But it's still, as we touched on earlier, we're still going in the right direction. So I'm not going to discourage anybody, just keep your feet moving, don't stop. Yeah. Keep going until you find nirvana. Yeah, it's out there.
Yes. You know what? I love your answer just sang to my heart. That was beautiful because it's true. From my perspective of studies, the mind and the spirit of who we are, there's a perfect path for each of us. It's directed by what we choose, right? When we seek answers, the world reveals what we get to choose from, right? But there's answers for those who seek. And what you just said too about seeking nirvana.
Good point.
The systems of the past have convinced people that better is not available, that nirvana is a dream. But what's really a dream is following the rules and believing you're gonna be following the rules of morality, believing that you're going to rise in this world of corruption. That's a dream. It's insanely obvious now that I've seen this stuff, man. but this is where my faith comes in real handy, right? Because something we were discussing earlier too is how it can be very painful to see the world the way that it is, knowing what is possible. It's painful, man. I've cried tears so many nights because I see the solution, and yet the world is continuing with the oppression and the wars. So I know what you're saying, but there's something special happening in this world. It's called us. All of us. We are the special that the world has created for a greater purpose than just going along to get along. That's not us. I know that's not the viewers. I've become familiar with some of the behaviors and mindsets of some of those who tune in, and that's not us. We're not the go along, get along type. That's why we're gathering. That's why these ideas and these people, these forms of energy, ideas and memories, that's all any of us are. We are all just forms of ideas and memories. That's what we are, truly. And if we can start seeing each other as ideas, when we interact with each other, recognize we're creating memories, right? We don't need so many enemies in this world. We really don't. And it's not that hard to get along with each other when you obey what is right. And I say what is right in front of our eyes is what you've been talking about for a long time. What is right in front of our eyes is a better way for humanity to grow, to thrive, to develop. We are the special things that are happening. There's something unique and special about every one of us. What divides us is our memories of trauma, that in the insecurities create the arrogance, and there's been people enabling. Well, there's been people enabling. That's how billionaires are created. They didn't create billions by themselves. They were given that shit. They took it. They stole that, right? This is nonsense. And they only get away with this because people can let them get away. We allow, what are these guys' names? Steve Jobs and no, he's the dead one, right? Who's the Amazon guy? Bezos. We allow these people to be how they are, and they got such a fan base too that there's so many Elon Musk junkies, little fanboys running around thinking he's the savior like he claims. It's like, holy cows, man. How did our world get to this, Richard?
Yeah. Just coming, this is going to be a random conversation, Jack, and these always are. A friend of mine, and because you're so spot on, it's lovely the stuff that it brings out. A very good friend of mine called Tom McAlpine, who thinks in a different way to most people. And we often attack difficult topics together and frequently don't come up with anything. But he was considering something at length, and he said, because afterwards I said, stop, I've got to go and write that on my bathroom wall, which I did. And he said, I don't know. We're discussing something difficult. He said, I don't know, but I think, and I said, I'm going to stop you right there. And that's the key to the whole effing thing, is to have the humility to say, I don't know. And that's such a magnificently opportunistic position. Okay, so now we can find out together. As soon as you say, I do know, you close down every other possibility, don't you? And just to say, I don't know, is such a powerful statement. I was blown away when he said it, I don't know, but I think, and we didn't progress beyond that. That was enough for me. That was good. I'm going to take that and write that down. Fantastic. Yeah. Beautiful.
Who was that again? I'm sorry.
His name's Tom McAlpine. He doesn't do publicity or anything. He's a very private person, and we just have some very bizarre conversations.
But that, brother, what you said, that's a key life lesson. Sincerely, I don't know. I don't know requires us to be strong enough to be humble. That's all it is. But when we admit we don't know, it opens us up. We become receptive to different ideas and different knowledge. But that's what the conditioning of the world has done, with this trauma-based system of punishments and rewards, treating people like animals and objects, things to be worked and taken from. It's a sickness, man.
Yeah.
People are confused and everyone's arguing about things instead of doing things about the things that are arguing about.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, capitalism is just astonishingly successful, isn't it? It's a bit like smoking. I smoked for 30 years until I understood it. But there's a cigarette for every situation. Happy, celebratory, sad, disastrous, exhausted, ebullient. It's a great time for a fag, You know what I mean? And capitalism is the same. Capitalism thrives with success or failure, peace, war, good, evil. It doesn't matter, does it? If capitalism wins at every single transaction carried out by human beings, every single one. And I'm astonished by that diversity and flexibility that it has to always come out on top. And I think once you get your head around that, then you see the futility of it and how, we will never succeed all the time we have any form of currency at all, actually.
It divides us. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's automatically divisive. And I guess on that note, when we just said, everything free and everything voluntary, it's essential that those always appear together. One thing that it's such a journey, isn't it, Jack? It's so exciting to discover this stuff. It really is like a great adventure. And one of the things I discovered was, shit. And I've done all these courses and thinking, well, okay, so great. Voluntary, free. Yep, all good with that. How are we going to govern? How are we going to control stuff? Who's going to make the decisions? What vehicle will we use to do this right? And gradually it came to me that, oh man, of course, even the process of governance will be automated by the nature of a voluntary society. And people just will not volunteer for something that is not wholesome. But they will volunteer in droves for things that are positive, for the things that are important, which we now know to be our psychology, our sociology, community, environment, etc. And they just won't volunteer. And so you may well end up with not needing any governance fucking structures because people don't want to do anything negative. How will we have regulations? What's your position on the legalization of cannabis? It doesn't matter, it won't be a question. Nobody will voluntarily produce tons of methamphetamine. Can you imagine what we call a socio-logistic supply chain, i.e. the mining, the research, the engineering, the construction, the processing, the transport, the marketing of a product when all those stages have to be voluntary? I mean, there won't even be Coca-Cola. Overnight, people who work at the Coca-Cola factory, now I'm going fishing with the kids, mate. I'm not doing it, And even if the guy who does the manufacturing of Coca-Cola says, well, I love Coke, it's a great product, I've been with this company my whole life, the guy who drives the trucks or the guy who maintains the trucks, or the people that do the fuel for the trucks. They may say, no, I'm not going out to sea to drill for oil to run trucks. I'll do it for ambulances and for fire engines and for disaster relief, which they already volunteer for. The signs are already there. You know, in this country, I'd love to know about in the US. In Germany, it's actually more, but in New Zealand, both the ambulance service and the fire service are 75% voluntary today. And those people turn out, you know, they're poor and busy and stressed and have a million other things to do, but they do it because it's important, and we have a world-class service. In Germany, I had a German guy staying here. He thought, oh, no way. And he looked it up, and in Germany, it's more like 90% of those services are voluntary because it's important and because it is socially revered. People put you on a pedestal for doing that stuff. We will be overwhelmed with volunteers to do everything that's important. And if we don't think, if no one volunteers for it, then it's automatically, well, it's obviously not important. So don't freaking do it. We don't have to make decisions with law and regulations. The people will decide. It's just exactly right, isn't it? Someone said that before, didn't they? Oh my goodness, it's so obvious.
Yeah. It really, truly is. And the more you think about it, you can see the logical way it would fall together, that especially as people were not worried about the basics of survival, you know, with more time to self-educate and the things that they want, right? Learning and work and apprenticing, right? Developing skills freely, you know, without this nonsense, man. The entire system, it's all built on opinions. It's literally opinions that get people into jobs, and it's, I don't know, man.
You'll be familiar with Maslow, right? Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you know. And somebody pointed out the other day, I mean, all the things at the bottom of Maslow, housing, food, water, shelter, I mean, they're produced by machines, right? It's so effortless to produce that stuff today. But it's only the things at the bottom of Maslow that cost money.
Right.
Right? Company, entertainment, mutual support, art, creativity is all free anyway. It's, oh my God. You know, one farmer where I live in New Zealand, we're up in the mountains. We're about 2,400 feet above sea level. This is not farming country, but today the average individual person in farming in this region, and I checked it out with my neighbors, the average individual, I'm not talking partnership or couple or family, just one person, the ratio is one person for about 1,000 head of livestock. That's how efficient farming is in 21st century New Zealand. And a young fella that my daughter used to go to school with, he's got in fact, it's the Southern Hemisphere's highest large-scale dairy farm. And I mean, he's 25 years old. Basically, he milks 1,200 cows by himself. And that's enough to produce, I mean, just those two. So if we had two volunteers, one doing sheep and beef farming and one doing dairy farming, we'd produce enough of those products for a quarter of this country. You know, that's the scale of our human capacity to produce the basics, you know. And yet, even in 21st century New Zealand, where these things are everywhere, those cost a fortune and are out of the reach of most people. Astonishing, you know. Astonishing, the price of the basics, you know.
It's criminal. The entire money system is a criminal enterprise that has been developed through conspiracy, but it's been publicly shared exactly how it's been happening, you know. Hey, and back to what you were saying though. Yes, the evidence is clear. When people come together, we can magnify the production. when we're unified in a process and we've got the right tools and the right techniques, man, there's so much potential we could do. Humanity works too hard, my opinion. A question from here. What are your thoughts on the Bitcoin?
Absolutely not. I mean, yeah, it has one or two smidgens of appeal, but I think it's an even more disastrously controllable, invisible, toxic, exploitive system. Again, encouraging people to convert something from reality into something that has actually zero genuine value. You know, sometimes when thinking about these things, you know, as an aviation person, it helps if one tries to imagine the future in a spaceship. You know, if our whole existence was just 4 or 6 people living in a spaceship, would we have money? Would we have marketing? Would we have jobs? Of course not. But we do have ways of measuring and controlling and assuring the equitable distribution of the oxygen and the regeneration and the repairs, and everyone needs to rest and etc. And it's just, it is a spaceship, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a bigger spaceship, except this one self-renews.
Yes.
And the food you need comes up out of the ground, and the animals walk up to you, and the people want to hug you and love you and take care of you. You know, it's not that difficult.
It's really not. It's so what you said. Yes, we are. I mean, regardless of opinions on the shape of this earth, we are all just in space, right? We're one. And so this world we've been given, Mother Earth, oh my God, nature, the beauty and abundance, the bounty of nature that's provided to us. Oh my Lord. We are such pigs, such parasites. What humans have become, it's kind of disgusting if you judge what people are doing, but that's why people don't want to feel united, because they see the disgusting choices that the world is voting in. I'm watching the news today about the political candidates. Oh my God. Trump or Biden's making fun of Trump for being senile. It's like, holy shit. This is America. Oh my goodness, man. Where do you want to go from here?
I wanted to talk about timing. You know, I was fortunate enough about 7 years ago, I think. I'm always thinking, what can I do? I'm into utopia, right? I will be 60 next month. I wouldn't mind a bit of utopia before I pass on. So let's get on with it. But what do we do to bring that about in the fastest possible way? And at one stage, I read a lovely book by a friend, co-conspirator of mine, called Troy Wiley. I've got his book right here, actually, called The Next Copernican Revolution. Fantastic book. Troy, great money-free advocate. And he and we talked on the telephone. I always like to talk to people in person. You know, you just get a connection that you just don't get by typing. And Troy came to stay with us, and he finished his book here, actually. But in the book, he identifies how much of the things in our lives are made up. You know, I think coffee cups and dogs and headsets are pretty real, you know. I can kind of feel that. But money, relationships, culture, integrity, you know, these are important things, but they don't physically exist. So we've kind of created that thing. And I wondered, when I was wondering what to do next with the whole money-free thing, had a bit of a break between election cycles. To make it more real, I wanted to go and visit and physically spend time with other leading money-free proponents around the world. And so I did that. I took about 10 weeks and I went all over the world, and I stayed with Nick Tapping in the UK, Jody and Rogers in the UK, I didn't actually see Troy because he'd been here, but I also went to see Colin Turner, who was living in Spain at that time, and he's a huge money-free proponent, written some good books about the topic as well. But it was really important to me to spend time with those people, not having meetings in hotels or restaurants, but go to their homes, meet their families, pet their dogs, see where they put their toothbrush, and make it real, because all the relationships really had been over the internet, which is kind of great until your battery goes dead. And then oh shit, it's cold and you haven't had any dinner, and oh my God, I missed an appointment, and it really did help to make it real. But Troy, anyway, sorry, that's what I was going to say. He helped to bring the money-free concept into reality. Let's push our way through money and pop culture and all these other things that we just created and take a presence on the stage there and be part of that. And by visiting those people, I did that. One of the most important people I managed to visit before he died was Jacques Fresco at the Venus Project in Florida. And I spent 8 days with those guys, and it was just breathtaking to have that experience together, because, sorry, I forget where I was coming to, Jack, but I'm coming back with it. It's all about timing. And Jacques Fresco, he started with this in the 1930s.
Right.
Do it from then. And he had to go through World War II, etc. Oh my God. Mulder Man,
think of that.
Vietnam, knowing this stuff. Oh my God. So where I was going with that is maybe it's just the timing. And Jacques, capitalism, post-World War growth, the age of modernity and technology had to run its course. And we had to have billions of people die from smoking and cut down Amazon rainforest to make hamburgers to eventually reach this point where, God damn, maybe they are ready now. And so that's exciting, because, you said that a lot in your material, that times are changing. And everyone's always said that, haven't they? Jean-Jacques Rousseau said it in 1750, and he had to wait a while. But yeah, boy, it's changing now. And in my last 10 years of putting this material on the public stage, where, how do you truly gauge public opinion? I've kind of repeated this, or certainly we've repeated the same events many, many times over. I'm talking over 100 times. These meet the candidate events where all the political candidates for a particular seat are invited many times during the campaign period to appear on stage, and the public can ask questions, they can have a discussion, and people can get to see who to vote for. And so the stage and the setup is identical really from one year to the next. But the response that I get from the audiences, and as a little by-note from my colleagues on stage, one of whom is already, or maybe more than one, is a member of parliament, possibly a cabinet minister in the upper government, certainly a mayor or a city councillor. These are people with their hands on the controls of power as to what happens in this country. But the way they've responded and the way they've changed their reaction to this money-free material, which, as I said at the beginning, has not changed. It's a bit more sophisticated, but it's exactly the same as it was 10 years ago. The way they respond to it has changed massively. And now we're still seen as a bit dreamy. Oh, you're ahead of your time, Richard. But I can see it happening one day is very different to you're completely mad, which is how we started, And so I think we can safely say that things are changing. And look how informed young people are. They now teach climate change and social responsibility at school, don't they?
At the protest of some people, but yes, I agree, man.
And it's all, cool,
dude. Sorry, that is cool. You met Jacques Fresco and you were there at the Venus Foundation. That is very cool. In the future, I want to swing back and learn all about that. But this is our introduction for those who tuned in. I'm not alone. Richard is one of the many who thinks like me that yes, a world beyond money is available. And so, doggone it. Now I lost where we were at. The timing. Thank you. That, see, you're absolutely right. Timing is everything. That's what life is about. And time happens one moment at a time. We got to pay attention. We got to stop living in the past and tripping in the future and come together in the present, because that's how we rise above the past, by letting it go. And I tell part of my development in my own transformation, I remember when in my mind I became convicted that, okay, I really don't need a house this size. I really don't need the income and the life I've been living. I can live a lot less and work a lot less. And I tell you what, that realization of the obvious, if you consume, if you live more modestly, you can actually work less and still live a better life. And I was like, holy shit, well, that just makes sense. And when I made that realization, I felt so free. It was a lifting of my spirit by opening my mind, right? That was a long time ago, and my mind has been blown away by some of the criminal actions I've heard that have transpired from the American government. The American government in the past, and you decide what time I'm talking about. But the American government literally conducting chemical, biological, and psychological experimentation on the citizens, right? The citizens who pay money for the government to exist. For years, there have been operations and groups, testing things out on unsuspected people. It's got to end. And I can only imagine what you were describing with Jacques Fresco, having to live with the realization and the knowing through those times, right? The World Wars, Vietnam, seeing that. No wonder he looks so angry and disgusted in his late videos, man. But here, where we are at from here, the solution I see is pretty clear, transparent. It's knowledge that gives us power. And that's the reason the government has power. The wealthy, they live lives with access to information that most of the common people don't. They don't have the time to learn about, because they're in the narrow, everyone's on their own in this world. And it's not true.
3 jobs.
Yeah, they're working 3 jobs, no time to educate themselves. They're doing everything they can just to survive. And in this world where we're all divided by wealth and position, this authority nonsense, it keeps us all at war with each other and with ourselves. And I know the world is ready. I'm seeing the signs, and from the spiritual perspective, you know what? In every perspective I've looked at, or I've been shown. There we go. Every perspective I've been shown, the signs are pretty clear that there's something special happening going on, right? Around the world, there's people rising up. My heart goes out. I watch the news every day. Democracy Now! Is who I tune into. But, seeing all these people in Israel, family of the hostages, the people in Palestine, designated safe places are now being bombed and destroyed, like last night. I mean, this is real and happening right now. Those tuning in, again, I want you to consider the fact that Joe Biden is president and that Donald Trump is another option that's being thrown out there. Those signs are those are signs that where we have dropped to in the state of our what we're willing to accept. When's enough? I think we've gone far enough. I think we've gone far enough, and I would love for today's conversation to inspire others to kind of start down the path of what Richard's talking about. Those who have a deep understanding of common law, those who understand natural law, true freedom, those who understand the benefits of a world beyond money, please start getting involved. Start educating the people who are in the systems, because most of them don't know. They've been living like us, trying to survive, trying to figure out what's going on. So, I don't know. I'm excited for the future.
Yeah.
Where do you want to take us from here?
Yeah, well, you kind of given me a reminder of, I start so with these political things, quite often you kind of, okay, so Richard, how are you going to solve the world's problems? You've got 20 seconds. Right.
Right.
Kind of keep it fairly superficial. And that's what our political dialogue has become, just snappy sound bites and think, hang on, can we just do some fact checking here? And that's not how we maintain airplanes. You kind of, in fact, and it's fabulous to see it even in 21st century aviation. Sometimes it'll be, I'm very sorry, bing bong, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, your flight is delayed because we have a weather problem, a technical problem. We're going to stop because we don't know what to do yet. And there's a wonderful admission of humility there that we'll work it out and you'll get a free cup of tea and stay in the terminal. We'll call you in an hour. But we stop, and that integrity is absolute in aviation, and that's fantastic. But we can kind of take that into the socio-ecological, economic, political arena, the same integrity. And so, but sometimes it takes a bit more. You're going to have to stop and think about this. We can't, okay, carry on. No, don't carry on because it's got a flat tire. It's going to crash. Oh, shit, too late. But one is led to extend yourself in these situations because you've only got 30 seconds and you want to, I don't know what to do. Do I go for, say, something gentle and unprovocative, or do I go for a big smash, which is going to get people up in arms? And we've tried every which way, whether it's on TV or in a newspaper or live frequently, where the audience, and there's the microphone and the people are there. You better say something like, now, brother. So there's been a lot of gambling going on out there. But one of the things I said in the past was the money-free, the resource-based economy system is the only system that will solve the Palestinian problem.
It would.
And I said it thinking, oh shit! I said that. Where did that come from? That came from instinct and from dealing, working with the money-free concept for, getting on for 15, nearly 20 years actually now. And I had to stop and, okay, after the show, yeah, did you just say that? You better think about that, mate. This is serious stuff now. And in fact, a couple of months ago, I wrote a short paper about, okay, so how does going money free in New Zealand solve the Palestinian crisis? And if you'll indulge me, the short version is that, you never are going to solve a crisis at the point of conflict. Those people have other priorities, right? Like trying to find their dead child, this is just, they ain't going to listen to conceptual, deep ideas. So let's get away from that conflict, preferably as far as possible, which brings us over to the Southern Hemisphere and possibly New Zealand, and also ideologically as far as possible, where, thank goodness, New Zealand on the whole is an extremely safe, civilized, wealthy, resourced, educated country. And we don't have that kind of conflict here. It's I mean, there's plenty of problems, but this is a very good place to be away from the conflict zone to discuss what are we actually going to do. And because of the things I just mentioned, I can see us. It's very difficult to go money free on a small scale because the pressure from capitalism is so intrusive. But New Zealand, again, it's like a gradient. I don't know. I don't get on that well with Saudi Arabians or, I don't know, some extreme people, but I can live with them on this world because they're far enough away from me that our differences don't matter. I'd be very offensive to some of their cultures, but it's fine because we don't have to associate. So the gradient, the distance over height over distance, is sufficiently low that it doesn't matter. And so I could expand on that a lot, but New Zealand could go money free by itself. It's big enough and it's far enough from the other influences of capitalism that we could do it alone. And so going back to Palestine, once we did it, bearing in mind that the whole world, and just touching briefly, I'll try and stay on track, rich people educate their children very well. The children of rich people go to really good schools where they talk about climate change and inequality and the deficiencies of the justice system and everything else, ecological responsibility. These young kids of wealthy people are growing up very different to mum and dad and the corporation. So that's just, a little aside. But once the world, desperate for solutions, everybody sees an entity as big as and as well respected as New Zealand having a crack at something completely different, then they'll start to take it seriously. And so I'll just kind of rush the clock forward there. Okay, what does that do for people in Gaza? Once you really think it through, and of course it takes a bit longer, there won't be borders. There won't be passports. There won't be nationalities. Again, it's all that BS stuff that was made up to control and divide us. All that will be gone. And I think, of course, the jihadis, the warriors, the people that have been fighting for generations, retribution, etc., Israelis and Palestinians, yeah, for sure. Some of them, they're so traumatized, they're going to stay and they're going to fight and fight and fight. But the mothers, I've witnessed it with my own family. Of course, we all have. When you have a baby growing inside of you, your priorities start to change. And a young mother with a child or one or two children thinking, well, look, mate, I love you and you're my life partner and all that stuff. But I'm going to take this baby over to, bearing in mind, this is an empty world, another topic we could come back to, but as an airline pilot, the world is empty. Don't let anybody tell you this world is overcrowded. Oh my God, there's so much space out there. If this young mother has the opportunity to raise her child somewhere safe, etc., a beautiful utopia, which is what most of the world is she really going to stay in a bombed out cell? Of course she's not. And people will just abandon that because they will have everything that they need effortlessly provided in a beautiful, harmonious, lovely place. And the conflict will end. The conflict comes from the money system.
Well,
that's
Richard, that's what I was just considering. What you were offering as, New Zealand having the capacity to become self-sufficient and provide for every citizen there very well. It could happen, I'm sure. Imagine if America did that. If America actually started leading the world towards a resource-based economy, well, that would immediately have an impact in both Israel and Ukraine, right? And maybe we could really make a step towards creating peace. And I love what you pointed out. Those people who are in conflict right now, they don't really have a lot of luxury of maybe considering ideas like this. They're struggling for survival, trying to find their children or their mothers and fathers. Yeah. This is a real life happening that people want to. I don't know, man. I just know what you're saying. These ideas, they are overdue, and yet they've been around for a long time. These ideas of sharing with equity, freely, voluntarily. And this is what I mentioned it in our call previously. We've got a new mayor in my town, and she may be receptive to some radical ideas, I'm hoping. And so I'm gonna pursue trying to create conversations with her soon and see where this can go, because when the red tape is cut through, right? And when people come together and recognize, hey, there's a problem in our community, it needs some attention. When people actually see the problem and believe that solutions are available, man, they share time, they share resources, they share what's necessary to get the problem done. We live in a world of denial, plausible deniability.
Yeah.
That idea of, this I don't know, so I can't be accountable. That's what's happening in our governments and our corporate system. These shareholders, they don't have accountability, responsibility for the damages the corporations, Exxon, all these pharmaceutical, Pfizer, all these corporations that are making all these profits. The shareholders, they got plausible deniability. They're not accountable except for the profits. Plausible deniability is willful ignorance. Willful ignorance is leading America. And I'm speaking from America here today, too. So it's willful ignorance is not acceptable to me. And for our government leaders, for the masses, actually, it applies to everyone. I was considering this earlier. I want to hold the leadership responsible, but in the end, it's every single one of us. We're all accountable for allowing this to be.
Yeah, we all played our part, right? Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Troy, it's right here, actually, Jack. Troy's book is a very good one. The Next Copernican Revolution. He points out that humankind, called humankind for a reason, have only had money or anything like that.
please remind me. Show that again. I want to pull it up and drop a link for those who are in. Thank you, Copernican. Thank you. And I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, not at all. For the first 300,000 years of the existence of modern humans, this is exactly how they lived. And it's only the last maybe 5,000 years where there's been anything like private property or money or government or anything other than shared equitable living. I mean, of course, we touched on, I'll say, of course, in our previous conversation, I wanted to introduce the word confluence, because you were talking about how things are coming together. And I think that's so important to identify the confluence.
Please continue. Go with that, please.
So many factors, our understanding of Earth systems, our acknowledgement that the climate and the planet is finite. Nobody ever knew that in all of human history. The fact that we have that information, the fact that we understand human psychology better, human sociology, what inequality does to a society, what excessive consumption of resources does to humans and society. Nobody knew any of that stuff before. And pivotally, the absence of scarcity, which is absolutely pivotal. If you're, at the end of the day, if you and I were the last two people alive and there was one Hector's dolphin left, we'd kill it and eat it, right? Because starvation will cause you to do desperate things. And of course, we've all, as a society, globally, been perpetually kept starved of the things that we need, either by money or actual restriction to the access of the resources that we need. It's not that they don't exist. We now have abundance. massive abundance of
Yes.
everything important, with technology, which is another one of these essential confluence points coming together, today. Now we have the technology to make it easy. Even in the past, there was a scarcity of energy. Somebody, and it's not going to be me, mate, has got to get down in that hole and dig. Like in communist Russia, 1920s, 30s, at the end of the day, somebody still had to do filing and work as a clerk and do digging and sawing and lifting and hammering. And that's all gone. There's not actually any work left to do. In fact, there's so little work to do that we see people driving their expensive gas-guzzling automobiles to gyms to pay a membership to lift things up and then put them back down in the same place. I mean, that again is insanity, isn't it? And I mean, again, going back to the ambulance service and the fire service, people love to volunteer. The greatest gift is to give, isn't it? Man, that makes us feel good to help somebody that needs help. We love that stuff as human beings, and we're acknowledging that now, And so when you bring all those things together, you end up with the possibility of doing this tomorrow. And boy, I mean, again, another thing we've now got is a knowledge of the disastrous trajectory that we're on in every regard. We never knew that before. There's a very successful fishing company. I mean, it's actually a global company now, but it's based in New Zealand. And the founder of that company, he said he's not going to stop until he's caught the last fish in the ocean. That was his mantra. And he didn't know what would happen if you caught all the fish. He just didn't know that. Wow. Yeah.
This is the short-sightedness. This is the beauty of the human ego. The way we are designed, we don't know what we've not learned, right? And we don't think beyond what we've learned a lot of the time, right? And people don't think. That's why we need each other. We are reflections of each other, sharing an experience together. Yeah, and we've got to help each other, right? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. We got to help each other overcome our own limits on our knowledge. Sometimes the solution, the answer we need, it's right in front of our face, right? And someone else will come in with a different perspective. Hey, why aren't you doing it like this? Ah, son of a, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah.
I want to offer this. It's been about an hour. I usually open the stream up for others to join. Today is different because I don't always start with a guest. Normally I'm running 2 to 3.5 hours, whatever. We've got as long as you want. And, but I want to toss the idea whenever you're ready, bring some folks up and we can have some conversations. Maybe they've got some different questions.
Right? Please do, Jack. And this is, this is it. This is it actually happening right now. I would love people to come up with reasons, and please try and keep it short, why this won't work. Because we're in a lot of trouble out there. We need to do something. And I believe, and my experience to date has only confirmed that we're on the right freaking track here. So I'm doing that. I don't know that it's going to work, but please let us know, because maybe we didn't think of something. Oh my goodness. Of course, that will never work, Richard, because of XYZ, in which case I'll go back to being a good capitalist, I'll buy some more ammunition and stock up on beef and tin cans, and who goes there when people come to my gate? But yeah, why won't this work? Because if it will work, then let's do it. I want utopia tomorrow. I don't want to wait.
Beautiful. How about that? For those who believe it will not work, please bring your disagreements and let's have some reasonable discussions about them. And for those who do believe it can work, bring some inspiration, some ideas. What could help get some more movement and get some more on board with the idea of a better world that's available right now? So,
yeah, I think we've got the best. This is the most important thing that has ever happened in the history of humanity. This is bigger than anything in all of human history. And yeah, we just need to sell it. Yeah. But why not? Tell me why not.
well, Richard, where we're at right now, we've got someone click the link to join already. It's a man who's actually been showing himself to be an agent of chaos. So I don't trust his intentions are genuine. He may or may not. I'm going to take a risk, okay? But I wanted to forewarn you. Please realize I'm watching closely.
Jack, I have nothing issues with you and this guest. It's TML who's blocking all.
I know. So he came up to complain about some of the blocking and snafu. I agree. And here, guess what? I'm going to ban you from the studio. You're not welcome. Tell you what, I'm just going to kick you, but you're not welcome to return today. Thank you. Someone else had joined, but they dropped out. There's a couple. Okay. You want them one at a time, or you want to bring a group in? Let's try this. I'm going to try two things. Welcome, Neuro Jack, and you're going to throw you on the spot. Let's start with a place of gratitude for everyone who joins up. Just toss out something you're grateful for today, and then we'll move into the conversations. Welcome, Neuro Jack.
Yes, thank you for having me. I am grateful that there are well-meaning, serious people who talk about these subjects, and I get to participate in it. So I'm thankful for that.
Blessings. Thank you for joining, and I love that. I love that. Thank you. Welcome, Chris.
You're welcome, Jack. Thank you. Welcome to your guest. Thanks for having me up, guys.
Yes. You're coming in pretty soft. I'm going to turn your volume up a bit. What do you got that you're grateful for today?
I'm grateful for that people are thinking about these subjects instead of just like living blindly and not even giving consideration to things, So thanks for being here, guys.
Beautiful. And this is the last one, and then we'll get into conversations. Welcome, Dr. Egg. What are you grateful for today, brother? All right. Well,
good morning. Good morning, everybody.
Blessings. Hey, good morning to you. What are you grateful for today, my friend?
Oh, it's a beautiful day here. It's about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I've fed the ducks and I've watered the plants, and it's a beautiful life. The whole world could be heaven if people could only wake up to it.
That's what we were talking about. Hey, welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining. And what Richard was saying it's true. These are important, or it was recognized by all of you. These are important topics of today. The ideas of there's a better world for us. And Dr. Ake, I think you're in Australia. Is that right? He's another one of those. Yeah. So
I'm in the far southwest corner of Australia. It's a very big place, Diagonally, if you draw a line on the biggest part of Australia, it's about 4,000 miles from one corner to the other, which is equivalent to the radius of the Earth.
And it's all empty, right? Yeah.
Most of it's empty, yeah. Pockets around the coast and where there's enough rain. But there was a man once who wanted to build a pipeline right down through the desert, and he would have greened the whole place. But he's dead now, but he tried for a long time.
Hey, Thank you. Just briefly, Lizard Tree, blessings. Thank you, sincerely. I thought oh, you upgraded. Holy cows, man. Holy cows. That's what that was. Because I was like, I thought I just saw you become a member. You upgraded. Thank you, sincerely, for the support.
I want to jump in here and just make sure that I'm here. Are we talking about essentially trying to end the monetary system? Is that basically the premise?
Precisely the goal. I found another like me who believes and I'm not saying, you know what, from the conversations, he and I were definitely on the same page with the belief that the money-free world is the solution. And it's not just an option. I think it's coming. It is happening. It's just a matter of people overcoming their past resistance. It's all about moving forward.
Yeah. If I can expand briefly, Jack, was so talking no money, no currency, no trade or barter, none of those things. So everything free. Again, these are pivotal pairing, everything free and everything voluntary. And you kind of got to hold those two together because on their own, they don't work in, you know, our current mentality. Everything free, voluntary. Yeah.
So I don't want to say that I disagree on the premise. I just want to make sure we kind of fully comprehend what's really being talked about here. Like, if you say everything free, where does your labor and your bodily autonomy fit into the picture? Would be my first question.
Yeah, it's just down to what people wish to freely gift to their society, and if they don't want to contribute, then you'll have a different shaped society. Yeah, and people on the whole do give of their time and their resources when they think it's important. And of course, now, you know, the 21st century, we know that ecology is important. Consumption of resources has to be regulated, you know, again, autonomously.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm kind of getting at is like, if we want to manage resources, it's going to necessarily require one of two things. Supreme moral agency and or supreme ability to inflict enforcement of resource management, right? And I think this is really the big dichotomy that we're finding ourselves in, right? Because, you know, like one of the reasons I'm against immigration where I live at is not because I dislike other people, but because people value resource management very differently around the world, right? And I think this is something that people don't comprehend. And it's not to say that people within the West don't, you know, have their own issues with resource management. But if you compare it to what's going on around the world, and you also say that, you know, Western powers are exploiting Eastern peoples, it's a very complex situation, right? So I just wanted to kind of get your take on my kind of angle of coming at it from.
Yes. Yeah. No, I understand. And it's Go ahead, Jack.
Please keep in mind your answer and the thought. We got two more I'd like to bring in, if real briefly. But same thing, Joe Cool and Lindsay. Please, what are you grateful for grateful for today? Starting with gratitude, Joe. I got you.
All right. Well, today I'll say something shallow. I am grateful that I got to the dispensary. Actually, my girl went. I finished the video, and I got another one under review. I was productive today, and I hung out with like Jesse and Flo and Machine Lines, and that's always beautiful. So it's been a good day. A lot to be grateful for.
Hey, welcome, Joe. Beautiful. Lindsay, welcome to you. Something
Hello.
you're grateful for today?
Is my volume okay?
Beautiful.
Okay. Let's see. Just to be able to have a voice that anyone listens to, despite the fact that I'm an underclassman as a woman. And yes, I said that, and I'm not a big feminist either, but I'm glad to have a voice. Thank you.
Hey, grateful to have your voice. Thank you for joining. Richard, you want to jump back in where you were at?
Yeah, absolutely. So the question was who controls stuff, right? I guess in short, Jack. And really the short answer, and I could expand much more, but I don't want to go on and on. Everything sorts itself out when it's voluntary, including the consumption and the distribution of resources. And just as a kind of a shortcut, you can see this happening already in that countries give foreign aid to other countries. The citizens happily, relatively, pay their taxes, etc., to go and help people in disaster zones. Already, although 90% of your gifted dollar is going to get wasted in corruption and bureaucracy, you still want to help those people who have been hit by that tornado or have had that earthquake. We see that human element. Even today, when you really can't afford to put $1 in that cookie jar, you still do it because you care about other people, even people that you don't know. And as regards to the regulation and the control of things, voluntarily, because we call them socio-logistic supply chains. So to have a product or a service actually deliverable requires a lot of input from a lot of different agencies, right back to the mine in Australia or the forest in Brazil or the laboratory in Holland. To actually do a thing and produce a product or a service takes a lot of engagement from a lot of different individuals with lots of different skills and pivotally lots of different individual exposures to the world.
Well, here. Let me try and give you pushback to try to really zone in on what we're talking about here. Would you say if we assume everybody doesn't lie or cheat or steal or all this, and one person does, the power of that one individual is so exponentially increased because he's willing to do it. So is it the monetary change or is it the morality of the people within the system that's the problem?
No, it's the monetary gain only, and the leverage. And we touched on it earlier with Jack. I don't think you were here then, but capitalism wins at every transaction, regardless of the outcome. And when you don't have capitalism, there's just no purpose in having a transaction that isn't beneficial to both parties. And so right now we get the most corrupt, lying, cheating, cunning, ruthless psychopaths in charge of everything because they've got the money. And if you don't do it, buddy, you're out of a job. And so you have to do it. And so people do all these unethical things that they don't want to. Go ahead.
How do you actually attack the incentive structure, right?
Well,
Because
ask your children.
Here.
What do we do? What do you want to do today, kids?
Hey, let me jump in with this response because that I completely disagree with the hypothetical you offered.
Jack may have froze up. Neuro Jack, what bad could that motivated that one negative person do if in the environment there where money is no good? What horrible thing can he do?
Well, you could trick people into offering their labor or their favors for smaller and smaller apportionments, right? Like you can trick them because they might not comprehend the unintended consequences of their aid in a endeavor. Like charity is a good example, actually. Why do a lot of people do charity? Because it lowers their tax.
I would assume most people do it for other purposes. I've given tons of charity. I've never claimed anything.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is when it comes to big money in charities, there's a huge incentive for people to wash their money through charity.
But in this instance, that analogy won't hold, right? There is no big money here.
Exactly. And this shift would bring a change in morality because the truth is everyone is serving. We are all serving with our jobs, with our time, our labor, especially. We're serving the community with our consumption. So we are serving, and people they'll do whatever it takes when they think it's important. We've been brainwashed into believing that money is important. Money is just a step. It's become the focus rather than the tool, and money has divided us. And Neurojack, you're right with what has been happening. The act of giving, just like Richard pointed out, currently under this system, nothing happens if it's not for money. And you know, these corporations and the wealthy have found ways to maximize their return, you know, because they've got influence on the rules. We can overcome all of this. It is possible.
Yeah, if I could just add a final piece to that as well, Jack, in that without money, nobody has any leverage over anybody else, because one individual, no matter how charismatic they are, they just don't have the personal resources to influence many people.
And Richard, if they think that if they did that thing Neuro Jack is talking about, where they promised a thing for services in return, they'd be kicked out of the loop. No one would fuck with them after a week. So that would work itself out too.
Society would reject them. Exactly right.
Here's the thing, though. It's not, money in and of itself is just an exchange medium, right? Just the way technology and all this is, right? So isn't it more about the morality?
Not anymore. It should be. It could be an exchange medium in the instance that you're thinking it. Now it's much more nefarious. But go ahead.
The way it's being done obviously has issues, right? I agree. I'm not saying that capitalism equals good. What I'm saying is it people perceive as of now that they're kind of generally participating in a sorry, my kid is going crazy. Generally in a voluntary situation, right? And so what I'm saying is, if you're trying to change the medium of exchange into like a more voluntary thing, I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, are you going to get people to act morally? You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of, I don't see how just getting rid of capitalism is going to equal good, right? Like I think you have to figure out how do you make moral, right? Like that's my question.
I believe most people are good at the end of the day, and if you're not good, you won't last long. You won't get a girlfriend. You won't get to procreate. You won't get to be part of a society. You have to be good in nature to exist, and it's only money that's made it advantageous to be bad. And people don't want to.
Dude got some good arguments, yeah.
Amen. Yes.
I don't think there's any motivation to do harm. We touched on Maslow's hierarchy of needs earlier, which includes, at the bottom, housing, shelter, food and water. And those things are fantastically expensive right now. They're really difficult to get hold of, even in 21st century New Zealand or the United States. Those things are almost effortless to produce in real terms because of technology and modern farming and mechanization. So those things should be free. And when you have those things, the things that are really important to your survival, then what incentive is there to fight?
I missed some of it. I'm sure you explained this, Richard. I missed it. When you say those things are free, someone's working those heavy machines and making those houses. By free, I think you mean the way you paying it back is you're doing labor in some way in return, or no, or I can just sit up at the crib and get a free house.
Do what you want. Do anything. If you want.
How do I get a house just out of people's kindness of people's hearts? Huh?
Yep, absolutely. And we do it already. We do it already with our taxes, with our healthcare system, with our emergency services.
I'm not so sure how much that's out of the kindness of people's heart, man. I don't think if you told motherfuckers you don't have to pay taxes, 98% of them quit the first day.
Well, hey, you're right, because we were born into a world that profits from trauma, and the trauma creates our insecurities, and we stay divided. And the longer we stay divided, the more we let these illusions of money and authority keep us apart. And literally, Joe, you're seeing it firsthand. There's people killing people because they put on a costume and go out and get paid to do a job, right? So
they won't do that. Yeah.
We live in a world of pretend, of make-believe. It's a real life action. It's a game of Monopoly that we were just, hey guys, this is how you live. You play Monopoly in real life. No, that's bullshit. It's time for us to grow up and put the games away. Start becoming
Well,
if I could ask Richard if he had an idea. You go ahead, whoever that was. I can wait on all that.
no, I'll be really brief. I guess what I'm saying is, like, let's say that someone builds up a lot of favor by building 100 people a house. Now we have people that feel like, oh, this dude built me a house. I kind of owe this dude. And then this dude says, well, these other people, we're not going to build them a house until they give us X. See what I'm saying? Like, how do you really stop that from happening?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. I think you're anticipating a future of scarcity. And again, the
Damn.
wisdom
Well,
element of this is
scarcity
how many
of
houses do you want?
always a problem,
Because
right? Scarcity
there's
of time.
already enough houses, actually. And once you've got a house, you don't want another house. You've got to look after it, or you've got to get some volunteers to help you look after it, because you can't pay a pool guy or a roof guy.
Well, sure, but what I'm saying is boredom is the playground of the devil too, right? Like, people will be like, you know what, I already got everything I need. How can I play the game and get people to do what I want? Like, there's going to be some people who, as of right now at least, will think in those terms, right?
And they'll get the reputation in a week. They'll be fixing their own rules and making their own, planting their own
Yeah.
gardens.
Richard, are you suggesting that we go back to more agrarian society type of society? And how can we circumvent all the technological things that we've built up?
What's the agrarian? I've heard the term. I just don't
Agrarian
remember.
is like the old times where they grew their own vegetables, and
Okay.
there was no big government involvement. People lived more
All
on the
right. It
land.
sounds exactly like what he's talking about.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's hard to know, Lindsay, where this will land. But Jack and I earlier, we talked about confluence. So that's a confluence of global understanding, of the understanding of sociology, of psychology, of consumption of resources, of climate. It's coming together of all these things, our capacity for abundance because of our technology, all these things we learned in our lifetimes,
So you would incorporate technology?
Yes, clearly he would.
Again, it's up to the people, and it's also up to the planet, because I don't know at what point. Right now, we need 2.5 planets to survive, to be sustainable. So we need to reduce, especially in our cultures, we need to reduce our consumption and etc. down to a level that's sustainable in the long term. And quite where that lands, I don't think it's living in mud huts and eating grubs.
Yeah.
I think it's actually pretty nice.
Which is why, Richard, inherent, excuse me, Lindsay, inherent in your suggestion that people are using these machineries, then yes, they're using computers alongside them. That's why I could assume the conclusion there. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Lindsay.
Yeah. And again, I think if we need more computers, if we agree as a society at all levels, right from the mine in Australia through to the chip manufacturer in Korea, all those stuff, the transport, the packaging, the development, that's a lot of people on this planet have got to agree, yes, we need more computers. And with their children in mind, hey, kids, we're going to go fishing today. No, Dad, you need to go and work on that computer system because the world needs it.
Richard, go ahead.
And your family, your surroundings, your genuine connection with the planet will tell you what's the ethical and the right thing to do. Now that we have the knowledge of, we could build another super tanker, but actually, maybe not. In that vein, I think the people that go to work at Smith & Wesson and Remington manufacturing ammunition, are they going to do that voluntarily? I don't know.
Well, side of it though, like, don't you think that people are controlled through technology? Like, just your real or true, or what is real or true, or what's going on in the world limits your access to knowledge, and also like how your actions impact your surroundings to a certain degree, right? Like,
in some ways.
I think the opposite. I think the technology of today, while it has been used against the masses in psychological ways, it's an incredible. The technology of today, just the communication that's happening right here and now. People around the world are having a neighborhood conversation. We are a world community.
Yeah.
When the money system is not the controlling factor, when we're cooperative with each other, it could. I love the way Richard has been responding to these questions with humility and honesty.
Yeah.
Will technology be in the future? It'll be a collective choice. It'll be what the world determines. And I believe without secrets, without the reliance on individual authority and people limiting knowledge, without secrets, with full transparency, we could easily use technology, mechanization. We could reduce the number of jobs. And yes, more people would have more time. Does that mean they'd be devious? I think they'd want to clean up the environment. I think they'd want to help some of the people who are currently refugees,
They can see how it would be to their advantage. I think that's a good argument. There, I got a question for both of you cats now.
Joe, please hold your question. Remember it, if you will. Richard was going to jump in with something.
Sorry, Joe. Yeah, thank you. This just came out. So we just completed another parliamentary election in New Zealand in November, which Money Free Party contested as always. And because I try and stay as flexible as possible, I want to sort of be as contemporary and current as possible with what I'm talking about to the audience. Because I can say anything, I'm not going to win. So go for it, see what happens. But what I started saying, New Zealand, it's a particular example, but it's really applicable everywhere. New Zealand exports about 90% of its industrial production.
Okay.
So that's wine, dairy products, meat, timber, that kind of thing. 90%. And of course, this stuff costs a fortune. It's not going to poor people in Bangladesh.
I was going to say, that's why they're exporting it, because they're getting a lot of money for it. Yeah.
Even New Zealanders, where it's produced down the road, New Zealanders can't afford it either. It's so expensive.
Sure. Yeah.
Meat and vegetables and timber, all produced with amazing machinery that is so efficient. But it's not accessible to you, my friend, including housing. You need $500,000 to buy a shitty little house in this country today.
Yeah, it sounds like Denver. Yeah.
Space and building materials everywhere and fantastic technology, nail guns, laser levels, all the stuff you have to put them together. So it's really out of kilter. But what I said at the last election to big audiences sometimes, look, we would lose nothing by reducing our work effort by 90%. We would lose nothing because that's
good point. Yeah.
To rich people that don't even need it. We have to go out there and create markets for our creme fraiche and our infant formula. Oh my God, don't get me started about that. We're creating markets of rich people to buy our products so that the corporations get the money, so the people of New Zealand could reduce their work effort. So basically, you were working 10 days. In the future, work 1 day. And you will enjoy the same standard of living. Of course, it will actually be fantastically better, but for just to keep it,
That's debatable. I got a little argument against that shit too, but I'm holding it.
Well, everybody can retire.
Basically, the words you use are funny.
Equally, we can reduce our consumption of fossil fuels, our wearing out of the transport infrastructure, and all the other stuff, our consumption of electricity. All those things also reduced by 90%.
Become reduced. Yeah.
Tick all the other boxes.
All right, let me get this question out.
I have a question too after Joe.
Thank you for that, because I am a gentleman. I was going to wait again.
Oh, no.
There is one problem. There's a structure already standing in your way, which would be very resistant to being moved aside. Had you given that any consideration? What does your movement have room to grow, especially in today's society?
Sorry, which structure do you mean, Joe?
I mean the political lobbyists, big pharma, behemoth oil company shit that's going on now. They won't give up that shit easily.
No, and so you have to sell it. Forgive my use of language.
Agreed. You got to package it properly.
As better, as a win-win. So throughout all of history, there's been some winners and a lot of losers, right? And any time there's a big change, you just get different losers and different winners.
I'd agree.
Whereas the change we're talking about is win-win. And if somebody, oil company executive, corporate leader thinks they're going to be worse off, it's because they don't yet understand the
Well, can you
side.
give me some of the win-win arguments just that are applicable to the bigger guys, if that's part of your argument here?
My son is 27. He worked on super yachts for quite a few years, working for some of the richest people in the world.
Yes, just as the word super yacht, as if yacht wasn't fancy enough already, right? Super
True.
yacht.
And those
Yeah.
people have everything you could ever want, and they hate their lives. They hate it. And they don't know a way out. And as we touched earlier on with Jack, you know, the wealthy, they can afford a good education for their children. And in that education, they talk about climate change and environmental and social responsibility, all that stuff, the importance of community and relationships and remaining
I'm waiting for
grounded.
this argument is, you know, I got to give up my mega yacht. This better be a good fucking win-win.
You don't have to give up because everybody can have access to a mega yacht. And these people, they hate the fucking mega yacht because all these bloody parasites come up and pretend to be your friend. And, you know,
Yes, but you understand, Richard, that they need that mega yacht until you psych them out of it because they don't really need it. But they need it because their entire life is based on it. You're talking about the most thickest cognitive dissonance you will ever incur. From the moment that person was born, it is all dependent. They have no identity when they give up that mega yacht. So you got to provide a beautiful replacement.
Nice. Good point.
Yeah.
So, cognitive dissonance is a motherfucker. I yield, Lindsay. Thank you for your patience.
The only saving grace, but I think it's going to be too slow, is that their children detest the yacht. They won't go on it. They want to go and live with their
That's
friends.
the starting place. You thought this shit out, bro, because all your arguments are solid. Yeah.
I don't know. Lindsay, what do you think?
I'm wondering, do you want some contention? Like you wanted us to play kind of a devil's advocate kind of thing?
Please do. Test it. Break it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. I took some notes because I had so much to say.
Wait, I'll join in.
You use
don't get thin-skinned now. I'll join in. I ain't got nothing yet, but I'll go in with some. I love playing that dude.
Hey, actually, Joe, sorry, Lindsay. Joe, play the other way. If we're on board with this, how do we make this happen?
Okay, I can do that too.
That's the other way to play too.
Right. Okay, I can do that.
I have an honest question and some contention, but I'll start with the contention since that's what you want. You're using grandiose terms of idealism like utopia, egalitarianism, although you said equality. Yep. You said lack of hierarchies. And my argument there would be these things are built into society from tribal days.
Agree.
From the very beginning, these ideals, and they've never existed. But this is the ideal / fantasy land that you're posing that you can create. But at the same time, you have to have enforcements too. So how do you have all of these wonderful idealistic terms and something to enforce them without contention and everybody just getting along? Do you see how it can become Orwellian as soon as you add enforcement? And then you don't have any of these. You're going to have naturally hierarchies. You're going to have inequalities. So there's one of the things I can throw at you.
You want this one, Richard? Yeah, go ahead.
If that's okay. So right now, and I love this question because right now the world is shaped and modeled and led and role modeled by those who have done the most taking.
God, I love that answer.
They took so much that they have all this power and then they can take more because they can control everybody. After money, because the things that we need, going back to Maslow's hierarchy of need, for people to have a great life, that's easy to do today with construction techniques and mechanized food production. If you want to do that, but it's easy to get the things that you need. It's not hard. No
have
one
a
has
great
to dig
life,
holes
but not
or
be self-actualized. Most people, 2%, only 2% reach self-actualization, which is the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
And so 98% believe they will.
When you're done, Lindsay, please.
Are you saying we'd be satisfied somewhere in the middle of this pyramid? Because I had to stop you just because the top of the pyramid is not able to be attained by most people.
No,
So are you?
because
Here, this is where actually, if I may, this Maslow's hierarchy, I'm going to go refresh myself a little better on this. It's been a while since I looked at it, but Lindsay, what you're right. In the past, that's how it's been, because the bottom structures have all cost so much money. But where we're at today, where the confluence of knowledge that's coming together throughout the world, it's the answers are happening, and we're at a point where we can flip the pyramid. The all the pyramids, the power, the needs, those can all be flipped, and we can put people's spirit, their emotional state as a greater purpose.
I've got to interrupt there, Jack. I've just got to interrupt because you said the word pyramid. And so going back right now, the world is utterly controlled by those who have done the most taking, the most cunning, the most ruthless, the most psychopathic. Once we can so easily, because of our technology, provide the important things that everybody needs to have a good life, then what do you do to stand out? Because we're all different. Some people really want to be a big shot on a stage. Some people just want to do their own thing in the garden. We're designed to be different. And the only way to stand out when everybody has everything they need is to be giving more. And then we will see characters emerging who are the most kind, the most empathetic, the most sacrificing on behalf of others, which will completely flip our society on its head, an inversion of the pyramid. So the better and the kinder and the more responsible you are, the more prominent you will become.
I love the idea. I absolutely love the idea. I just see the same thing with Jack, and this is why Jack and I are always
Wait, Lindsay. I still wanted to give it a little bit, add a little more to that answer.
Pardon me.
If it's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I'm thinking, all the powerful people you were saying, all the narcissists, blah, blah, blah. But where is their power derived from? Right now, it's all money. So just if this thing comes through, 90% of their drive is gone. Where do they get their power from now? Some people and technology.
Via technology. Yeah.
Some people may want that physical power, become a cop. And I could think of ways to limit that, right? They would police or do things around the environment. So that means they got to look at the grocery store dude every day. They have to see. So that would be one of the things you put into play. Their jobs would be different. It wouldn't be revenue collectors, so they wouldn't be hated, blah, blah, blah. The power wouldn't really be there. Go ahead.
And how are you going to deal with if they put robot cops before you get your system into place? See what I mean? Like, how are you going to deal with that situation?
I do. Neurojack's mic's a little weak. Can you do something, Neurojack?
I want to know how it's going to be enforced and your thoughts on police.
Let me jump in.
It's reinforced by societal engagement. If you're not upsetting anybody, then you can do it. But if you are upsetting people, someone's going to say, hey, can you turn that down? Can you not damage that? Can you not hurt her? Because we don't agree with that. Our societal morality, not derived by any particular individual with a monopoly on violence, we all decide, hey, that's inappropriate. Would you not do that? And if you continue to do it, you'll gradually be ostracized. And ultimately, if you still don't get it, you probably just won't be at breakfast tomorrow morning. Nature will.
Oh man!
No, I don't think that's illogical what he's saying.
Here's what I'm saying.
It would happen naturally. Go ahead.
Let's just say that we can get to where you're going. Let's say that we can get to where you want to go. Between now and then, people will suffer in that process. How are you going to minimize the suffering? You can make an ethical argument for what you're saying, 100%. The consequential argument is going to have to be addressed because most people are in love with the convenience of right now.
That's the form. I was going to ask you what you meant by suffering. You meant that they'd have to give up a lot of their toys?
At the very least, if not a lot more than that. Yeah.
All right.
I think the transition.
Do
you want to speak, Jack?
Yeah. keep the thought of the transition, if you would, because I want to come back to the enforcement and reinforce what you were saying. The society will help govern with the current structure. The way that the world we were born into taught us everyone's in it for themselves. It's been ruled by those who take the most. So we've been divided, but when we unite, and here's where that flipping the hierarchical need to 2% receive actualization. Let's flip that, because we've got the knowledge. There's more common understandings. There's a lot of people teaching this, the psychology and the spiritual aspects of who we are, as that's becoming more freely known. And the morality improves as people start becoming more Christic, for lack of a better description. But when people start becoming more Christ-like in their being, we're not going to enable these crimes. Many of the crimes that happen today are out of desperation and anger. The anger and desperation, they are reactions from this world situation. Well, the situation around them is because we were born into a merciless world.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it doesn't
here's
have
the
to
thing.
stay that way.
You have to have some level of greed just to stay alive as a being, right? You can't not have any ego, any greed in order to just provide for yourself, even out in the woods. Like, you're going to have to do certain things, that are not pretty, right? Like, it's just you're
Yes.
competing against nature as well. And capitalism does account for that. And I think that I'm not disagreeing with what you guys are saying, but you've got to account for individuals' wants and needs at some level. You can't, I'm just saying, like, that's a very dangerous, slippery slope if you think we have to unite and stuff like that, right?
Wait. I think what is truly dangerous is enabling the greedy. And that's what capitalism does. This whole boss and employer, this whole structure works from a top-down approach where citizens, people, are just selling their labor and time without really a purpose other than a paycheck. So they sell themselves short, go into a job they don't like, and all we are doing is, guess what? Enabling. So what you're talking about, Neurojack, I think in the future the crime would disappear, because as people's needs arise, they'd go to the community and say, hey, what's going on for this? What solutions
That's still a type
are
of
available?
government. That's still a type of government. That's still a type of government.
That was good.
So
I gotta
what
be
is your
quiet because
problem? Wait, Lindsay,
my
if you
problem is control.
okay, so you can't imagine a system of volunteer with the purpose, the people who volunteer are to make sure that things are right. They're not there for a paycheck or to make their own family wealthy. Can you not, are you able to imagine maybe a different word than government?
No,
I
no,
would
no. That
like
was a good
to,
word.
but
The
there's
people
this
that you go to, like,
right.
let's say you needed that new thing, home, whatever it is you needed. Those people you go to are now, they have power because they are in
Okay.
the decision making or whatever reason they have power.
And they're
And
not
for lack
neutral.
of a better term, you could call them government. I don't guess she misspoke
Okay.
when she used that
But
No, I
word.
didn't.
they answer to the truth, and the truth is not limited to just those in this government. So is it impossible for you to consider a good version of government?
It's lovely for me to consider, but it seems more like a fantasy because in any
She's got to
governing
see
body,
it's functional. She got to see the, the functionality, the logic and shit. She's that, and I'm
It,
that too. So I understand
it's
it.
there.
in any
It's there.
governing body, there's going to be bias, whether you want to have it or not. Even judges in our society have extreme bias, even the ones that
Don't,
try to go by the book, exactly
Lindsay,
by the law.
Lindsay,
Uh-oh, I'm in
please.
trouble.
Well, no, you're not in trouble, but what you're
Maybe a little
doing,
bit.
well, no, what you're doing is you're taking the past, projecting it as an objection to the future, and what we're suggesting is a different future is available. The judges wouldn't have authority. We wouldn't be in this position of enforcement. It would be,
Yeah.
monitoring. It would be paying attention to and communicating with others. If there's a problem in the community, maybe an authority who's responsible for, just making sure everyone's safe. Maybe there's a problem in the community, but we move from punishment and enforcement into correction and education.
Well, I mean, you'd have to have some kind of hierarchy, I would think, and some way to.
There would be martial law going on because people would take things into their own hands.
Lindsay.
Yeah,
And I see you're attacking my argument because it kind of presents a slippery slope kind of fallacy.
Well, I like to battle the argument. I missed most of it. I'm battling on Jack's
You're
side
willing
today.
to discuss these objections.
I'm supposed to be getting up here and giving objections. Okay. Richard welcomed them.
You're right. You were right. You are right.
Sorry, you're right. Can I jump in here? Just going back to something that Neuro Jack said earlier about you're going to go and get what you need.
Yeah.
As a being, you've got to go and grab that piece of fruit or that whatever it is you need to make your life good.
Right.
And what we're doing right now, we have to basically grab that money because that is the access to everything else that we need, and without it, you die.
So wait. I thought in your world you supplied everything. I got to go out and kill my own deer. I thought someone was going to bring it to my door or something.
Oh, hey, if you're disabled, they'll bring it to your door. Because
if you're disabled, but the healthy motherfucker, all right. I like killing your own deer.
And it's easy to do. Right here, people are farming 1,000 head of animals per farmer.
But
so it's not.
Well, now I got to know what I can get from society. If I want a house, I just go to a village hall somewhere, and it's
what you do. Done. Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. You go to where you go right now. You go to the realtor, and he told me he's passionate about housing. Funny, he told me that the other day.
He better be passionate, otherwise he's not working for a paycheck. He better be passionate about housing. He's not there.
Yeah. In fact, we don't even need realtors because we got computers to consolidate again.
No. The realtor is better. A guy who's passionate about a house is 10 times better than anything else. I'm sold.
And, Jack lives in a big house. I live in a big house. Frankly, I don't want it anymore. I prefer living on my bus. And if you've got a new wife and 4 little kids and you want to play in the garden and do all the yard work, you can have my house, brother.
You can switch up.
And again, the confluence. The technology, if we decide via our planning people and our graduates who have studied architecture and sociology and city planning and ecology and all the other things, resource management, consumption of fossil fuels, they've all come to this point, hey, we need more houses.
I got another question.
It's easy to build.
If I live in a city, the houses are easy. I'm back to the food again. I can't go kill a deer. I'm in a city. What do I got to do now?
They farm deer, man. There's a ton of it in the supermarket. Just go and help yourself.
Oh, in the supermarket. Okay.
If you can't make it, an Uber will bring it to you in an automated car that drives itself. We don't want anybody starving out there. And we won't be delivering Cocoa Pops or Coca-Cola or tobacco. Sorry, brother, you've got to grow that yourself because we don't agree that it's a good thing for society.
What do you think, Lance?
Just coming back, so Dr. Neuro Jack said, you will grab everything that you need. But right now, in doing the money thing, we are purposely ignoring many of the things that we need, such as our own health, our family, the attention that our community need from us.
But we need would change. Our definition of need would change quickly. I would agree with you.
Sorry, kids, I got to go to work. Oh, Dad, can you stay home this weekend? Sorry, no. And you're already not doing what you truly need. Okay, I'm going to drive this
truck
what
I need.
Market full of Coca-Cola. That's not what I need, is it? I'm damaging the environment. I'm poisoning those customers. Oh, man, I'm doing the wrong thing again. And voluntarily, I will not do that. If you want me to drive an ambulance, hey, of course I'll do that. Does my family support that? Yeah, you're a hero. Here, have some lunch. In fact, we'll come with you. Train me to be an ambulance driver. I want to be a hero in this community. I want to mean something. I want to belong. What do we want from life? We want to be appreciated by the people that we care about. It's so exciting. I can feel it. You can feel it too, Jack. Let's not burst into tears, mate.
I want to make
What do you think?
something clear, but Jack had his hand up. Can I go after Jack?
Yes.
Please go ahead, Lindsay. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to make something really clear. I don't mean any disrespect here. What I'm doing is kind of debating back and forth. And what I see you and Jack as kind of radical idealists. And of course, you're going to have some contention. Any radical in any way, shape, or form, left or right, is going to have some of that. I don't think what we're trying to do here as a collective is to criticize you and tell you you can't do it, it can't be done. We're trying to have dialogue, and sometimes it can feel like you're being beat up. And I see both of you guys get exasperated and look kind of like, oh my God, you're going to grab your hair and pull it out. I've had ideas. He makes everything okay again.
Yeah, boy, Sarah.
Yeah.
So just wanted to make that line clear. This isn't an
Lindsay, I
isn't,
see why you get further than I do, Lindsay. I am less, I don't know, considerate of their position. These are big positions, which they'll have to explain to a lot of people. There will be a lot of questions. I give no courtesy and no quarter for a motherfucker who can't answer these questions on a fucking 6-man panel. And 2 of them have the same idea. No.
There is respect here. There is no demeaning here.
Yes.
But you're going to feel like your hair's being pulled out and you need to smoke. That's because you have
should
radical.
Not. This is the good. If you got your shit's based on solid foundation, you're like dude over there. He loves defending this shit. Not only that, when I muted my mic, it was to tell my girl about you. I was like, and dude has thought this through. He has good arguments. This is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love your idea. I would so much like to embrace it, but because of who I am, and I'm going to be, always be a person who's skeptical, who questions things.
Not only that, Liz, I wanted to ask them how much of the resistance you're getting from panel is because they, I know Jack will agree, are just unfamiliar with the love that people are capable of and the things that people are capable of doing, and to some extent they're tied up in this matrix belief. It has them believing you need that fucking cable, you need this, you will die without it. I'm in it too. You see, I'm asking my man, how'd I get my food? I'm caught up in the matrix too. Shit.
I don't like the feeling that I'm punching these 2 men in the face, or that
I get the feeling Richard can take it, Jack cannot.
Lindsay, Richard said that this is part of the consideration process. He thinks this is a good thing you're doing because it gives him more things to consider. And
yes, they have to strengthen their arguments.
That's
You're doing them a favor.
And thank you.
And can I switch to the other side, Jack? I've been debating with you guys. I would love to ask questions and try to tell you guys down to.
Can just real briefly, I want to touch what you pointed out. That's why I was so excited to invite Richard here. Here's a man who's been facing the public and having conversations.
This is great. It was brilliant, bro. And the way you did it was smart too. You guys spoke for a while at first and blah blah. That was smart too. Then let us ask questions. Brilliant. You look professional up here.
We're learning and growing. And this human adventure, man, there's something cool about this. And where Richard was at,
I dig it.
Just real briefly, where Richard was at, I've spent time imagining the future like this with conscious human beings who are debt-free, who are cared for in the community, where people can travel with whoever they want, wherever they want, anywhere in the world, and know that wherever they go, they're going to meet people who care for them, where they'll be received and protected and, cared for. That world is possible in the here and now. It's just allowing our minds to believe that it is. And these conversations, whether you agree with them or not, at least these conversations are being had. It's an important time we're living through. And
I would say I don't want to die until I see something different. I feel like this is slave shit. I'm tired of people thinking they have authority over me. I don't even know what freedom look like. I would like to, learn and graduate a little more and get out from under someone's thumb a little bit before I die. So your idea is, I'm down with at least examining, and I'll have to do it in some form or way or another if it's mine or yours. But I got to get free.
This is where I'm trying to come in and approach this. How do we accomplish this? That's kind of where I wanted
That
to.
was my question for Richard. Did you guys ever answer? There's a structure standing in place. How do we get around it? They're gonna send the military at you, motherfuckers, if you stop paying taxes and start telling other motherfuckers. They're gonna dox you. They're gonna lie, spread rumors, send women out after you, skanky women to get you into uncomfortable positions. They're gonna come after you.
I'm on the skanky women list.
No.
Plan.
I would have put you on there.
Go ahead, Richard.
I was just again briefly. If we had 10 seconds left, tell as many people as you can about it. That's what we did. I grew up farming, and then I went into aviation in 1980. I've been in that industry for 43 years. And in aviation, if you don't know, you ask. Because if you try and make that shit up, the wings come off, and it doesn't end well. Yeah. And I love that. To say I don't know is a wise and humble and considered responsible statement. Yes. And so if you say to your neighbor or your server or your family, hey, we saw these crazy guys, they both had gray beards on the internet the other day. You know what they're talking about? A world without money. What is that? What do you think?
Yes.
What do you think? Because we've got a lot of problems to solve there. How would this look to you? And I mean, that's what we've done for 15 years now, is just say, well, I don't know. What do you think? And then after
I haven't heard a group of people talking about this anywhere, right? Just nut jobs. I'd probably count myself among them. I haven't heard that there were a group anywhere, Jackson nut job for sure. Right, he's up here alone getting attacked by 9 people most nights with this idea. And here's something I left out. A lot of it too, which I know me and Jack is leaving unsaid, and maybe you too, Richard. God is involved. A lot of it is reliant upon the good nature of stuff, which is God. People are forgiving, merciful, charitable. Yep. These things are of God, and that's a position. I don't know. It's for the few. I don't know, man. It ain't for everybody.
What basic phenomenological perspective are you coming from? What would you actually label yourself if you had to have labels? Because I think you just got labeled hippies. You labeled yourself older guys because you
or the white beards.
You mentioned, the white beards. So what were you?
Freedom is right. Freedom junkies, man. And God and freedom are the 2 words that pop in my head.
Pause for just a moment, if you will. We got another guest, a man who I do admire, and just like with the others, though, Machine Lies. Welcome. Let's start from a place of gratitude. Where's your gratitude at with you today?
Very good, Jack.
My gratitude.
Don't come up here with that negative energy, brother.
Yeah, before you even talked, we knew it was negative.
Right.
Well, I think I got rid of, well, to be fair, I used my negativity in a pointed manner to get rid of these, the negativity of those 9 people that you mentioned earlier, Joe Cool, because, so it took me a little while
That's
to get
funny.
Yeah, because they just kept on cycling on the same stuff. So I wanted to watch that for today, that didn't
right
happen.
on. We got to guess, man. Some kids misbehave. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, but my gratitude, I think it lies first and foremost in God, and I think the second place I would put my gratitude is in nature. and the third I would put in my family, and I think those it would be really that order,
Right
yeah.
on. I dig it.
Respect. Thank you. There was a question asked about how you define you or your philosophies, Richard.
Yeah, I'm not letting you go away without answering that, Richard.
Yeah.
You're in trouble now.
It's a great question, and I've never really been asked that before.
It's a good question because people are going to look for a label. I hate to say it, labels suck, but to
And how you
identify
see
it quickly,
yourself.
we're going to need to call it something.
I think that's
Well,
sort
not
of a kind of.
necessarily.
Well, I'm trying to butter them up here
Okay.
and get them to give me a word here.
We gotta let him. We gotta let him say.
A kind
Me
of
and you are tag teaming.
a blissful ignorance, really. It's my ignorance that drives me forward, and the excitement.
That's gonna be hard to package and sell, Richard. It's just
Right, if you don't
remember
believe.
earlier we were talking about
You're
selling
trying
it. That
to
might
for
be
this
hard.
person
Yeah.
who's trying to educate people and enlighten and bring them up, and he's calling himself willfully ignorant.
Brutally honest.
Yeah.
He's a
Brutally honest, but you just
humble man.
discredited yourself.
Well, here, actually, this topic of labels, this is where the world has become confused.
It was trying to be a fun, kind of unusual question.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It's okay.
I don't mean to keep misunderstanding you, Lindsay. You're bringing everything that's asked for and more. Thank you.
You're bringing just come with the argument. You're getting defensive about the argument. I don't know if that's even allowed, especially when you got to go or you got to go. You got to shed that. Try to get an unvarnished argument if you can. She'd respect that a ton more.
Well, I think Richard addressed we'll give him some time to think about it. I want to give Machine Lies, if you have any questions or feedback.
Ain't these guys lunatics, Machine Lies? I mean, this is crazy. This will never not work. Do you agree?
Well, I think in terms of practical solutions, there have been political ones proposed. I think that on the one end, having to produce sustainability through technology, I don't think that is a good solution because it I think the global tools or I guess what we mean by the monetary system, it is a technological edifice in that it is based on international trade, which is based on communication between all parts of the world. So there is an ideal there where we have a world system emerge, but we do have a world system in place today, and it seems like a technological system, and then on the other end, there's the local thing. There's a danger of neo-tribalism, that once we go into the kind of local, enhanced local thing, that you get taken over by ideas like stakeholder capitalism and these types of ideas. So there's that type of thing too, that once we're more divided, we're easy to conquer. You know what I mean? So there's a thing that globalism is a problem on the one end, tribalism is a problem on the other end, and in the middle there's this question of sustainability and the question of technology.
That first part when you said about the global technological creature, I don't think that is necessarily inherently evil or bad. I could see in these guys' hands them using the same structure and seeing it in a different light, and I don't remember the other two.
I tend to
trad mentality. Yes, Richard would have to package that very well and show them how. And I don't even know if it's a thing because I'm so anti-tribal. How tribal philosophy is a good thing.
Well, it points to something that Richard was saying, and that we are, in a sense, we're not only alienated by technology, but we're also alienated from technology. That normal people don't have the ways to control the tools that are there, And that goes with large scale systems. Large scale systems are
Yes.
inherently going to be ruled by
The
experts.
nuclear power plant. Me, you, and
Yeah,
Jack.
right.
If we crush the system tomorrow, we kill 10,000 people the next day because I don't know how to
Right.
operate
So
this.
So if we're looking at practical, solutions, you know what I mean? We might have to look at one of those types of areas, um, you know, especially
This still
putting
looks
the
more doable. I'm
technology.
getting bullshit. This still looks more doable today than
Yeah.
it did yesterday.
Yeah, getting a new technology, not large scale technologies that are under the scale of
All right, I
control
dig it.
of people that can, actually
Yeah.
manage them,
Yes.
successfully without
Yes. We'd
international
have to
trade.
make that transition at some point, right? Yes. And any international shit we did would be totally foreign to what we're used to, because all we're used to now is trading people's debts and everything's monetary. If you cut that out, I can't even envision what the new system's damn near used for.
I'd like to flip the conversation if you guys don't mind. I mean, if we did see the value in a world without money,
In a world without money.
how could that happen? I mean, how could that momentum be? How could the tides be changed and the power structures inverted? Because that's what we're talking about.
We
We're
go
talking.
back to what Richard said. We got to make it a win-win.
I
That,
believe
that
it
was the
is.
most. It is, but we got to package it and sell it. We need some Madison Avenue boys on this or something.
Well, that's actually the exact way that I'm seeing it happen. Is we get these ideas more
Excuse
commonly
me.
shared.
I'm sorry, dinner ready, tacos. I'll be back.
This interruption is
If
brought
I
to
don't
you
see you,
by.
Richard, it was really great, and I hope you return.
Thank you,
Jack,
Joe. Really
love
appreciate
you,
it.
man.
Yeah.
I admire everybody on this fucking panel. I don't even know who the cat is on the left. Chris, good job.
Yeah. Hey, Joe.
Enjoy your tacos.
Where were we at? Oh, the win-win. The win-win idea. How could this become accomplished? What I've been envisioning is the way to overcome the money system is we stop lying, we stop allowing the lies to be spread. What you were saying, machine lies, we do currently. The technology of today, it's being used to oppress, but you get the right people involved in the technology, man. Oh my God, humans, when we come together, we can bring things to happen. And if we want to end wars, well, it all ties together. Ending wars would mean that our values have changed. And if our values have changed, that would mean that we're no longer, our state agencies are no longer fixated on what the bankers tell them they owe, right? Because people around the world are voluntarily contributing through taxes. And what Richard said, under the idea that some of that money is being used for good, right? But the good that we're sharing, it's being counteracted by our waste. And the future I see, I get excited about, like Richard was talking about, man. People just, I want to be an ambulance driver and I want to learn and contribute this way. If we wanted to accomplish this in this lifetime, if we believed it could happen, who do you think might be willing to try and help? Like people of influence. Who might we get? Like people of authority, people in government, politicians, or the ideas that Richard's been doing, getting involved and using the public forums that are available. Any other ideas what we could do if we wanted the world without money and a world with peace and abundance, prosperity?
Create a political party.
Yeah.
That
That's
is
expensive.
one.
It's expensive in the US. Yeah, it's hard work. It's much easier in New Zealand, but yeah.
That's right. Even in America, it costs money to do anything, man. Holy crap. See, the cards are stacked against us, admittedly, because
You understand both. The problems are that I fight you as a devil's advocate, and you fight me as someone who comes up with an idea, and we do the same thing to each other until we loop and loop and loop, and then nothing gets done. That's the other problem.
Lindsay, you're absolutely right. And that's why I'd love to invite you.
Uh-oh.
Rather than playing the oppositional role, what would be some ideas? You know, what could happen if we wanted that to happen? If we believed it could happen, what might we want to do, or what could we do?
Well, I would personally suggest non technical means, and what I mean by that is that I would suggest means that are non-utilitarian. They don't take utility into consideration. They abide by certain moral precepts. And they begin to seek growth within a system that is inherent within those moral precepts and ethical restraints. If we simply just move at the speed and pace of human innovation, then whatever we're inventing is gonna fall prey to the people who want to use it, at any cost. It doesn't usually equalize because these discoveries are usually brought about through multidisciplinary efforts at the highest stage of political and corporate interaction. And these corporations, they do act as pseudo governmental corporations that are basically like international governments at this point. So the thing is that it's the like was said by a poet, Muhammad Iqbal, from my home country of Pakistan. He said that the poets and the philosophers, they build up the nations, and the lawyers and the politicians tend to tear them down, because they work. So really,
Yeah.
I mean, if you really see the engines of change in a society, it happens through the scientists and the philosophers. It really doesn't happen through the lawyers and the politicians. They're like less than a footnote on the page of history, So,
Yes.
yeah.
They've been the roadblock. They've been the roadblock of progress, the attorneys and politicians.
Yeah.
You have all these systems like the economic system, the agricultural system. Is there any people that are smart enough to tie all these systems together and get something to where come with a system that would work that includes all those systems working together in harmony?
Well, I think this would.
And
which kind of takes me around to one of the transition kind of methods that we've anticipated, is that rather than go politically or philosophically or do some big platform thing, you just do it one human transaction at a time. So we all take part in society in some way, and we have people that supply us with goods and services, and we supply others with goods and services. There tend to be people that we know, we have repeat relationships with them quite often. And what we've been doing is having that conversation with someone that supplies me with something, saying, hey, could I have this for free in future? And they think, what the, of course not. Well, if your suppliers gave you the things that you need, your electricity, your components, your resources, whatever, for free, I would then do what I do for free, and the whole thing would take a very different turn. And then you're starting to introduce the concept of a money-free society where everything's voluntary. And believe it or not, most people actually like their job. They don't want to do it 7 days a week, but they would do it for a day or two a week for sure, because it's contribution. That's how they partake in society. They feel good about it. If they don't feel good about it, then probably don't do it. That's your moral, ethical roots saying, I shouldn't be doing this. So already we've got a measure of control, although I don't like that word, of a measure of restraint, because we're moral creatures and we can speak our truth to the people that we supply and the people that supply us. And if they say, no, mate, I'm not doing it, I'm not going to give you, I don't know, motorcycle tires for free because I think you're full of shit, you're a bunch of utopian hippies, then I say, all right, mate, well, I'm going to get my tires from the garage down the road because he's kind of on tune. I still have to pay him for now because he has to pay Dunlop. But in the future, he's talking to the Dunlop guys. And guess what? They're worried about climate change and inequality and obesity and their children's drugs and future. You know, we're all human beings at the end of the day, regardless of the uniforms and the badges and the labels that we put on a Monday morning. We're human beings first, and that's massively challenged by everything around us right now. So when you open the topic, of course, there's a lot of resistance. A lot of people aren't ready yet, but you have to start somewhere. Start with the people that you know and say, hey, I'm going to give you this for free in future, just as soon as I can get my supplier to do it for me. What do you think?
What's the difference between control and resistance? Because you said you didn't like the word control. And I think words are very important in the connotation of words too.
Yes,
so
I agree.
Why are
but
you?
But we do have to exercise restraint, don't we?
Sure, but why? What's the word control to you that rubs you the wrong way?
Control tends to emphasize coming from outside, whereas restraint is probably more intrinsically driven.
Okay, I understand.
Something like that, you know. But we don't, you know, when you're full on Thanksgiving, how much more turkey do you want? You know, man, hey, have another turkey. I don't want it. I've had enough.
Hey, I was thinking about that word control recently, and I can't remember my thoughts, but control is what this world is at. Everyone's fighting for control over each other, and the reality is no one's in control of even themselves. Why? Because their basic and fundamental, the higher needs have not been met. We live in a world of insanity where literally, what's the old saying? The one-eyed man becomes leader of the blind. That's today. We got a one-eyed man in the White House who's really, I think he'd be more comfortable in a retirement home. And out of all the American citizens who are eligible, I know we can do better than him or Donald Trump. So we've got evidence of the one-eyed man leading the blind. We are not blind. We've been enabling this blind idiocies. And I'm telling you, the emperor has no clothes, right? That's what that message is. These foolish people pretending to be authority, pretending to have power and influence over others just because they choose to acquiesce.
Yeah.
Is it an illusion that we have no power?
Yeah.
Or is it the truth that we have very little power, but we have some?
It depends on the perspective and context. In the power of the individual in this world, individually, we're pretty insignificant in the greater scope. However, you come together, you join together, and the energies resonate, and we are all energies. When our minds and our hearts unite, our consciousness and our spirit individually, when we become united within us, we strengthen. When we become united around us, we strengthen. And there's evidence that there's synergy. You know, when our thoughts and our spirits align, we place ourselves into similar energetic patterns, similar energetic states. And with energy, I don't know all the details on it, but I understand that, you know, you get the right frequencies and the right harmonies together, you get a resonance. That resonance brings a synergy, and it strengthens the frequency and the power of the energy. We are that energy. We are so powerful. Every single one of us.
Even when we repel each other too, because some atoms attract and some repel. And I'm thinking that there's still a way to connect, even though some of us are, I don't know, vehemently opposed to one another. There's still some way. Anyway, that's a whole nother idea. I'm going to go ahead and skip that because I wanted to add one more thing, and then I'll be quiet. The Machine Lies said something about artists and poets, and that you asked me, Jack, to come up with some reasons instead of some plans instead of some criticisms about why things can't be done. So I suggested a political party, but you naysayed that because it takes money. I understand. What about how it? There are many different types of learners, like kinesthetic, audio, visual, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just the same as that, there are many ways to reach people. Some people you can reach best through music, whether it's rap music or jazz, et cetera, et cetera. Some people really love visual art and relate to it and find meaning in it. Some people, it's just political cartoons. They dig them, they love it, they look for the meaning. Whatever kind of art it would be, through singing or acting or whatever, those are more ways that you can get the word out to people who may otherwise not be kind of amenable to your message. But then the Machine Lies just said their artists are basically peed upon and don't mean anything now. So I don't know how you would feel about that, the Machine Lies. What do you think?
Well, I think that there is a age today. You know, you could look at modernism in my sort of purview. I see it as a dialectic between science and art. You know, it's about, you know, modern art on the one end and the kind of abstract notions of art. You know, you could say in one sense postmodernism, and also the post-human. And there is a general sense in which I think that, you know, our sensibility of art is linked to science and technology, you know. So I think that that creates either a, you know, a process that can be hijacked, you know, and they are attempting to hijack it through sort of spiritualism on the one end, you know, but also, you know, a kind of, you know, I guess, you know, I mean, I really don't know what to call it, but anarchism, you know, on another end, you know, but yeah.
You think it'll happen? What will happen will be like Rushdie, or would it be? I forget how to correctly pronounce his name. The Russian cartoonist who got exiled.
Salman Rushdie.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Salman Rushdie was, I believe he was British, and he was Pakistani, was he? You know.
Yeah, and he got ousted from the country because of his satire.
Yeah,
so
because they put a fatwa against him. But yeah, I mean, in terms of art, I mean, I don't really think that really has a lot to do with the artistic situation of our age. You know, I think that really is a more of a political issue, you know, the Salman Rushdie thing, because they were having a political struggle with the Iranian government, you know, and they
was
wanted
relevant because he created political cartoons. That's why I tied it into this and the things that they could do, but you basically said it would be hijacked. So you don't think that's a good idea, is what I'm trying to get at.
I guess in the sense that I outlined that the global system of technology, because technology in one sense it marries functionality and aesthetics in an extreme degree, you know. So to get the art out of the technology, as I said, non-technical art, you know, and people have tried that is what people are looking at. They're looking at like spontaneous kind of abstract forms of art, you know, and that's an impulse to do that is based in a response to the scientific enlightenment, which is historically noted. You know, it's called basically called romanticism. But it's like you know, it brings us to the modern age where they combine these two, and I think that to try to tease them apart would be a good thing, you know.
Hey, Richard, I want to bring it. I want to bring it back to you. What are your thoughts? Thoughts from today? We've covered a lot of stuff already. What do you feel?
Just on our immediate past 5 or 10 minutes, I think again it's come down to we've got this mechanism kind of built into us that there is a specific goal or a specific method, and really what it comes down to is motivation. In that, what are you personally motivated to do? Because here on the farm, we've tried intentional communities, we've tried to live without money, and we're kind of trying to do it physically on the ground to demonstrate this money-free model, show an example of it working in the 21st century. But that's not really where my passion lies. My passion lies in writing and talking about this, in environments like this, being challenged. It's like a neural adventure. I'll be massively enriched by the contributions that you guys have made today. Because, okay, so what about this? What about that? And I'll need a few days to kind of let all that sink in and adopt. Okay, now we have a new horizon to look out from. We're stronger and further ahead than we were before. But that's how I'm motivated. And I love the political dialogue, the discourse, the arguments, the having to act on your feet. And for me, it is a sort of utopia, because during campaign season, which, because we're in local and general elections, is almost continuous here in New Zealand for us, I'm at my best, because I'm right on that fizzy edge of excitement and adventure and discovery. And maybe today is the day we're going to make a breakthrough and achieve utopia. It's so possible. It's so close. Where is the breakthrough? But that's where I'm motivated. And many people that I've recruited who have stood as members of parliament candidates for the Money Free Party hate it. They don't like speaking in public. They're not natural show-offs, They're not the kind of look at me types, which I guess I was as a kid, theatre and sports and production. Looking back, I love that attention stuff, I used to be the guy, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard your flight to Honolulu today. Wow, I'm talking to 300 people, aren't I cool? And that's just me, but the other people convert, and that will be received by some people. But there are other people, as you said, Machine Lies, that respond to art or to technology or to writing or to performing arts. It takes all kinds to get through to all kinds, and I guess that's kind of what we're doing. It's all good, whatever. The main thing is don't give up. Just keep going.
Takes all kinds to get to all kinds. That was tough.
Hey, if I can,
yes,
go
ahead,
welcome
Jack.
back, Joe. If I can jump in here, I agree with Melanie. Thank you to all who are here joining us.
Yeah.
I agree, Richard. Your enthusiasm and passion, they are infectious.
It's so exciting,
I felt this much earlier when we talked too. This was a comment I saw. Not to lead too much into it, but people today, they're not as informed as we are, right? A lot of the feedback is, I got a job to do, I got family to feed, and that is what they care about.
That's something that I noticed in what he was just and what Richard was just sharing with us, is that he's saying that there's so many technical aspects to getting the job done, like trading with people and going to talk to people and the farm stuff, but he's like, what really gets him is talking to people about the ideas, and that goes to the heart of what the comment was just made, because a lot of times when you guys talk, people have that kind of view that, because it's something interesting in what you said. You said utopia is right around the corner, and I think a lot of people would say it's not even plausible, so so Brother Talcott's heard that many times. So I mean,
That's me.
it's a sharp difference.
That's really your job, Atlas.
Yeah, it's a sharp difference in the way you guys are viewing the world. That means, you guys are looking at the world in a totally different way than these people, and that could
That's
only
that
be
God shit, bro. That's God, right?
Well, I think even you know, for people who don't believe in God, it's worldview, it's ideology and worldview.
Doesn't matter which God. Yeah.
Looking at
Yeah.
lens, you know, it's the lens you view the world through. You know, that they're looking at a world that can't, that these things can't happen, and you guys are seeing where it's more than plausible. It's right around the corner. You know what I'm saying?
It's God's kids who aren't really of this world, seeing through those eyes, as opposed to people who are got a little more of that one foot in this world, and they can't see what these cats can see. That's why I say it's God. When the conversation's over, that's what got them thinking that, and so driven for everyone to get along and no one to hurt anyone. That's God shit. That's their driving motivation.
Hey, may I speak?
No.
May I speak?
Yes,
No.
please join.
Drake.
Yeah, a couple of you guys are aware that I was in trouble with the police, and they've given me a summons now, and I'll be in court on the 8th of February. The two policemen that arrested me, talking privately to them, they both agree that growing a plant shouldn't be a crime, and that they're only doing their job because they need to feed their families. When I go to court, they're going to stand me up and identify me and then ask me if I plead guilty or innocent or not guilty. And I'm going to say to them that I plead to be responsible for what I've done, and I've grown a plant that is basically a medicine, and I've caused no harm. There is nobody who is suffering. There's nobody complaining that I've hurt them or done anything. So therefore, I haven't committed a crime. You must have a victim if there's a crime.
You must not
And
live America, because you'd get thrown out on your head when they ask you, how do you plead? And you say, I'd like to say that I produce. How do you plead? It's do you guilty or not? We don't have time for that. They don't let you get out on that shit.
How is this related to what Richard's saying? Because you lost me, and I'd rather be not lost.
Because I'm saying that the main problem today is obedience by the masses, and individuals need to stand up and show that you do not need to be obedient to the control system.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by the conversation you had with the police officers, though. I think that tells a lot of truth, you know? Yeah. Nobody really believes in that stuff.
Well, if we would just vote harder and respect the government, especially police, this shit might work, man. It's people dissenting from what's currently available to them. This system was put in place for you.
All my life, I'm 75 now, all my life I've been combating the bureaucracy in so many ways that it would take me years to explain it to you. But
I've come up against. Just go along with it. If you guys stop fighting it, the system would work. There's guys like you who make it the system ineffective, bro.
I wanted to jump into this. In the chat, there's conversation about this imagined hypothetical of 14-hour days in some factory, and some bullshit saying that's that's what we've got today, because people have been brainwashed into accepting a 14-hour day in exchange for some worthless fiat currency. It's brainwashing that we can overcome. And on this, the mention of God came up, and there is a God. I mean, I think humanity is advanced enough. We can stop these childish arguments, and science, and actually the science of spirituality, it's been studied. There's knowledge to be shared for all of us. And it's true. Human nature can't change unless God changes the heart. the way to change our hearts, every single one of us, it's through our minds. The power of the mind that opens the heart is the truth. And if we all treat the truth like it is God, we pay attention to every moment we live, seeing what the truth is that is being revealed. As we start growing in ourselves, opening our hearts and seeking that which is true. When we start seeking that which is true and asking questions, guess what we're going to realize? We've been screwing up in the past. We shouldn't be judging the future by what the past has shown. We should be using the past for lessons, saying, oh, yeah, I guess these systems of governments, oh, they've got a pattern of creating wars. Maybe we should change this shit. Right? I mean, I think it's time. I think the world is ready for it. It's up to us. And
you guys' system, there is no voting, right?
No what?
I don't know.
Voting. I mean, if I think Sarah is the best at doing the books, and you think that Lindsay is the best at doing the books, do we vote for which one is going to be our bookkeeper?
I don't know. I've envisioned a future where we actually do have we've got the technology available. If we didn't have such an invasive system where privacy and all of our information is needs to be protected, we could easily have a method of using the technology so that any issue that comes up in the local government, the federal government, if there's some way a connection to you, you get to pay, you get alerted or something. I mean, there's so many things we could
you can use it to your advantage. Yes. I still wonder though if there's something inherently wrong in the voting itself.
Yes.
I only see it working at a very small level. Very small.
Yeah, and it really comes down to, I think, to people voting with their feet. So
that type of shit, yeah.
Yeah, again, what will they volunteer for? Bearing in mind that they're volunteers. So if their family don't want them to do that, or their community, their neighbors, their animals, they won't do it, you know? Is that healthy for me? We can ask, I don't know, a different question. Do we want to build in our little town, do we want to build a hospital or a marina?
Right.
For example. And we're going to need architects, engineers, we're going to need logs and metal and builders and ships and all this kind of stuff, technology. Well, let's talk to the people who provide that technology and say, well, what do you think is most important to you? Do we want a marina or a hospital? I mean, if everyone, we're mad keen. I guess actually to come to your point, Joe, if there's enough enthusiasm for the marina and the hospital and they can't agree, because we've got the amazing technology, again, that confluence, it's not that hard to build a marina in the 21st century because we have diggers and machinery and amazing equipment to put these things together. It's not like one or the other.
Meaning you don't have to, in that instance at least, you wouldn't have to choose one.
We have abundance. We can have both.
All right.
Yeah.
So thinking like that, perhaps we don't, or do we have to vote for the bookkeeper? And you can just insert anything in terms of bookkeeper. There are two people who you think one's qualified, Jack thinks another, and we come down to a vote. Is there,
it's funny that we're arguing about who's going to do a voluntary job. Maybe they should both do it. You know,
that's a good. That's why I say, do we have to vote? If they could both,
and then their partners and their kids are probably happy. They're only going to be away half the time.
That's feasible.
Yeah. I'm running out of battery, Jack.
Richard, I was just going to check in with you and see how you were doing. How are you feeling? We're coming up on 3 hours. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm cutting out as well, man. It's been great. It's been fun.
Respect.
Hope you come around again, man.
Yes. Thank you, Joe. Blessings. Richard, should we wrap her up?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I want to be, I'm not sure where you're at with your phone, how long we've got. Final words, final questions from Chris, Dr. Ake, Lindsay, Machine Lies.
Well, you guys covered a lot today. I want to thank you for discussing these topics, or this subject, I should say, the various topics. You guys give me a lot to think about, and made a record of it now, so it can be reviewed and whatnot if needed. I don't know. I just, it's a complex issue, but it's so new to me. You know, it's just like kind of overwhelming.
I'm loving this, Chris. This is great. Yeah, that's where you should be, brother. Yeah.
I am too. Thank you.
I got to think about this shit. Yeah.
That's the most beautiful response I could ask for. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, you guys.
Sorry, Jack. I was so lucky. I kind of retired when I was 40 years old. And I was an airline pilot and an engineer and lots of other things. And I got 10 years off in the middle of my life, you know. And we came to this fabulous place in New Zealand and I had time to think. And who gets that? Like nobody, right? I mean, don't believe me, all the money's gone on ridiculous political campaigns. We're back in debt and everything. But we had that time to think, you know, 10 years between 40 and 50. And that was amazing. You know, it takes time to work this stuff out. And as I said to Jack earlier, I don't know if you were here then, most politicians, economists, they gave up. They just gave up. It was just too hard. And we didn't give up. We just kept going. We kept thinking and kept working. And it's so exciting. You know, I love every minute of it. Thank you so much. This is so enriching. You know, you guys have lifted me up for the week now. It's fabulous. Thank you. Yeah.
Beautiful, Richard. Dr. A, Lindsay, Machine Lies.
Dr. A, are you there?
Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Go first.
I'm trying harder and harder to stand in my authority and dispute the authorities that are in charge now. And I think if it's illuminated in the right way, we'll gradually change things around. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Yep. Yeah, the timing again, Jack. Hey. Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Yeah. How about you guys? Machine Lies, how about you? Thoughts?
I just wanted to look at the theory of capitalism for a minute, or proto-capitalism, really. You know, usually I end Jack's stream if I come on there. Today I was requested to be on here by a couple of the people in the audience, so I just decided to join impromptu. But
Guilty.
But the thing, yeah, Lindsay wanted me to come up. Yeah, but the thing is that in the two treatises of government, in the second treatise by John Locke, he invents the theory of capitalism, especially in section 42. He creates the notion of private property and labor and wealth in general, and he talks about the wise prince who enlarges one's he seeks to enlarge the possessions of his neighbors, and he talks about this principle of this sort of wise prince is like a mortal god, he says in section 42, and then in section 33, he talks about this principle of natural abundance, and about not wasting things in nature. So it's kind of interesting how section 33 and section 42 kind of contradict each other, in terms of what they suggest, this sort of natural abundance that abounds in nature. And then on the other end, this, scarcity that exists, and how it's based on both of these principles, this infinite wealth that he imagines of this wise prince. And then this other station where he says, well, there's waste and, we all have to share things, essentially at the end of the day. So it's very interesting. And he also talks about the freedom of the Native Americans, but that's more in the first treatise. But yeah, it's interesting to examine the theory of capitalism when we're looking for practical solutions. But yeah, bless you guys and thank you guys for having me here. Yeah.
Thank you.
Much love.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for staying live.
Before you go, just remembering that reference from John Locke. They talk about it in one of the Zeitgeist movies. Are you guys familiar with the Zeitgeist series of movies? Have you seen those, Lindsay?
Yes. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That was a big moment for me. 2007, when I saw the first one at 50 kilobytes a second. I mean, that took all night to watch that movie, but yeah, there was no going back. And it was great to then go and stay with Jacques Fresco. Geez, 15 years later. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Lindsay?
My final thoughts should be quick. I'm a fan of paradoxes, ironies, duplicities, all things like that. And I just had a quick comment. Besides thanking you for the opportunity to talk to you, I just wanted to say it's funny that you chose New Zealand as the place to land and stay and to think. It makes sense because it's absolutely gorgeous and beautiful and serene. At least it is from what I've seen. And it's also funny because it's one of the most expensive places to import goods in the whole world. That's all. It was a pleasure meeting you. Thanks for letting me ask you some questions and give you a little bit of a hard time.
Yeah, good on you. Thank you. Really appreciate your contribution. It all makes a massive difference. You've got to be tested from every angle. That's really great. One of the hardest things is to get intelligent people to stop and think. No one's got time to think, especially intelligent people. They're all flat out busy. So no, thank you so much. It's really massive what you've done. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you very much. Richard, sincerely, this has been an honor and a blessing, and I hope this is the start.
Yes.
I hope this is the start of more. I will be continuing these live streams, and the panels aren't. In the past, the panels have not been as orderly. I'll admit that. Sometimes they get a little chaotic, but especially if we can keep this order again in the future, brother, I invite you sincerely. Please return. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Let's do more. Yeah. What's next? Yeah.
Hey, amen. Anything final on your way out? I'm going to do some last words on my own. Otherwise, either way, actually. Oh, forgive me. I meant to ask this earlier. To reach you, do you want people to reach you if they have questions? Do you have a?
Oh, totally, absolutely, very much so. Yeah.
What is the best way?
Yeah, very. Probably through the website, really. So moneyfreeparty.org.nz. Yeah. But even if you put my name into Google, then the whole thing goes crazy. So yeah, we've managed to make a bit of a presence out there anyway.
Wait, moneyfreeparty.nz, right?
Not org.nz.
Yeah. Tell you what, I'm going to ask you, can you leave that in the back for me? And I'll in the private chat, and I will, I'll drop that in the link and in the description. Okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully you'll be back. And if there are questions, they can join us directly, right?
Yeah. Great. Yeah.
All right. Richard, sincerely, thank you very much. All of you who joined the panel, joined the conversations, the chat, hit play to understand what is this about? Rising above a money system, a money-free world. What is that about? For those who joined, sincerely, thank you. Thank you. And my deepest gratitude to Richard, to all of you who have been so loyal and participating in the creation of this. That is, I'm a part of this Live Without Fear, the Talcottian adventure that some are joining in. I saw it's in the beginning, right? There was such love and gratitude and peace being offered, encouragement. And there was a number of blue chats, Paul, if you're listening. Yes, the mods were offering me encouragement and support. And someone commented, kind of a joke, Looks like Talcott's starting a cult here. Well, so what? You know what? There's cults all around this damn world. Our government, our military, all of these are cults. The Republican Party, the Democrat Party, those are all cults. We're better than this, man. We are so much better than this. And I swear, today, brothers and sisters, there was some deep wisdom shared. And if these ideas are new for you, if you felt something moving within you, like, no, I reject that. If you feel that resistance within you, press into it. Explore. Find out why you're feeling that way. What's confusing about this? Because the truth is very simple. It's very obvious. The truth is the only thing that is important. See, the truth comes from that which is real. That which is real, the universe and all of its creations, that comes from and through a divine force that's greater than us. And we don't live in the past unless we want to. Do you want to continue to live in the ways of the past with oppression and division and a world where you've got to be armed in order to be protected? Do you really want to continue living and recreating that old life? Maybe the life of routine and habit that you've become accustomed to? I mean, that was part of the conversation we had already in communicating with some of these leaders in government. You know, having real human heart-to-heart conversations with people, you discover majority of people have conceded their values. They said, yeah, I know, but I got a job to do. I got to pay the bills. I got to feed my family. Yeah, all those things are true. So what? Doesn't stop us from becoming more. Doesn't stop us from changing our values, redefining what is important to each of us. And I tell you what, your life, your time, if you don't respect and honor and appreciate your short time on earth, don't you think you might regret it? If you didn't capture every day that was offered to you, because that's what's happening. Every day we awaken, the world, the entire world is there waiting for us to do as we want, with what we want, and however we want. So let's choose, right? We can rise above the past. You know what? I'm not going to jump into it. I was inspired earlier by some observations and some teachings on consciousness, healing trauma, finding forgiveness through the unforgivable. All of these things are connected, right? For us to unite, we're going to have to heal. We'll heal our trauma, but we'll do it together. So, brothers and sisters, sincerely, again, thank you. Thank you again for all who joined. I've got something new to go out as well. There it is. Please, brothers and sisters, do the subscribe thing. If you feel guided, it is my hope that maybe you will share this video with someone else. Say, you know, consider these ideas. What do you think about what's being said? Because that's how we're going to grow, is through word of mouth, through cooperation, through mutual voluntary support. So, brothers and sisters, all of you who joined, thank you. I now want to remind you of your opportunity to participate, to help this grow, to help these ideas be shared. Sincerely, tune in again tomorrow, likely the same time. Tomorrow's Talcott Tuesday. Yep, we'll be back tomorrow. Please subscribe, do the notification, and return. Until then, choose love, peace for everyone, and God bless. Live without fear.